Could everybody please move to your seats? Good morning. The May 23rd Board of Directors meeting is called to order. First, I'd like to ask our interpreters to explain how to access interpretation. Please go ahead.
Good morning. Announcement from the interpreter. To use the interpretation feature, please scroll to the bottom of the Zoom screen where the meeting controls are. Click on the interpretation icon, World, and select English as your language. If you're joining through the Zoom mobile app, cell phone, tablet, etc., please press the ellipsis, then interpretation, and then choose your language. Finally, click on the mute original audio to not hear the original Spanish flow in the background. Headsets are available for interpretation. If you're in the meeting room, please check out a headset from the receptionist in the lobby. Buenos días, aviso por parte del intérprete. Para hacer uso del servicio de interpretación, favor de desplazarse a la parte inferior de la pantalla de Zoom, donde aparecen los controles. Haga clic en el icono de interpretación, globo terráqueo, y seleccione Spanish, español. Si está utilizando la aplicación móvil de Zoom, celular, tableta, etc., presione los puntos suspensivos, luego interpretación y luego el idioma. Si no desea escuchar el audio original en inglés en el fondo, por favor seleccione Mute Original Audio, silenciar audio original. Contamos con auriculares disponibles para el servicio de interpretación. Si se encuentra en la sala de reunión, favor de pedir auriculares con la recepcionista en el vestíbulo. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the land that we call home. The tribal nations of the San Diego region have historically faced injustices. We acknowledge the harmony that existed between the land, nature, and its original peoples, who have since endured displacement, persecution, and systemic oppression. We pay our respect to the unceded territory and homelands of the 18 tribal nations in our region, the most in any county in the United States, from 4 cultural groups, the Kumeyaay Digueño, the Luiseño, the Cupeño, and the Cahuilla. This land has nourished, healed, protected, and embraced them for many generations, in a relationship of balance and harmony. As members of the SANDAG community, we acknowledge this legacy. We aspire to learn from indigenous traditional knowledge and experiences and undoing the injustices of the past. Now, if you could please join me in the flag salute. Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Michael, can you please confirm quorum?
We do have a quorum, Chair, with the cities of Chula Vista, Del Mar, El Cajon, La Mesa, Lemon Grove, Oceanside, Poway, and Vista absent at this time.
All right, let's move on to non-agenda public comments. How many do we have?
We have 5 in person and 3 online.
Great, we'll take all.
So as a reminder, no comments shall use loud, threatening, profane, or abusive language that disrupts the orderly conduct of the meeting. Disorderly conduct that disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the board meeting is prohibited. Per our board policy, the amount of time for each verbal public comment is determined based on the number of agenda items, the complexity of those items, and the number of persons anticipated to offer comment. This allows us to hear from as many people as possible and to complete our business while we still have a quorum. So based on those factors, the chair has determined that today's meeting, each member of the public will be allowed 2 minutes for their comments. With those 8 comments, we'll start with Truth, followed by Purita.
About the last meeting, Lisa and Mario basically admitted collusion. One paid political organization has quick access to SANDAG staff and our tax dollars. Youth Council in Mid-City Can couldn't even stay for the budget discussion, so sure they had the YOP deal in the bag. And it's amazing how many of you can bring up safety for the 0.003% bike anywhere day people, but you could care less if there's safety for public transit users, even if they're youth. Here's an example. How about 20-year-old Logan, who was riding the trolley from Santee to his job in Old Town? He was hit in the head and knocked unconscious with a metal thermos. MTS never addressed this. I did. A 5-minute walk from this building, Santa Fe Depot, a 16-year-old Kanoa was shot to death by police just because he was running away from a fellow teenager, shooting at him while he waited for a trolley. That's your guys' collateral damage. All of this is. It was also highly inconsiderate for Lisa and Mario to praise the paid youth council minions for someone maybe having a 2-hour journey to this building. Inconsiderate because there are others in this room who also make very long journeys every single meeting only to face reps who have their faces in their phones. Maybe some faces aren't cute enough anymore for some of you to deem worthy looking at. There was one point where I was trying to comment and Lisa and Mario's conversation was a complete rude disruption. I saw little reason to listen to almost any of you speak at the last meeting. One consistent exception to that was, again, Bill Wells, for actually representing the voice of East County, as he often does. Legitimate representation. I would also like to thank Jack, who also engages that. He's always respectful to every single person. And Jewel and Robin and Jay Dunn, people like that are very respectful. But when you're not, it really makes people angry. And then instead of addressing the things they thought they were going to address, they have to address behaviors instead of real business. And I do want to point out another person, Caroline, who's not here. At her campaign conference, she said American Mexico not only grow together, they build together. Imagine that. They can't even build a wastewater treatment plant, and that's the kind of nonsense she says.
Thank you, Truth. Next is Purita, followed by Cesar Javier.
Where is your? Just show this to them. Oh. Sorry, we are aging and forgetful.
I don't
Yeah,
have my
yeah.
glasses.
Yeah, come on.
To whom it may concern, the patient, Purita Javier, requests my documentation in regards to her surrounding environment. Oh, what is this? Affects her health. She continues to have significant anxiety in regards to the possible health effects related to air quality around her home. Her neighbors have a kiln that use of which may have contributed to adverse symptoms, if not to her health physically, then psychologically. Scoring for depression via the PHQ-9 symptoms, if not to her health physically, then psychologically, scoring the depression via the PHQ-9 questionnaire is 16, which is moderately severe, scoring for anxiety by the GAD-7 questionnaire is 16. In the moderate anxiety range, she lives in fear of her own home and avoid being outside. This anxiety has
Thank you,
contributed
Purita.
to
Next
increase.
Next is Cesar, followed by allegedly Audra.
I am Cesar Javier, the husband. This is the budget for the city of San Diego, our show window city. Councilor Laqaba is aware of this. Of all the services, we do not have health and human services. Core city. Councilor Laqaba condoled Pope Paul. He died already, Councilor Laqaba. May he has eternal peace, eternal life. We are sick and dying. Pardon me, we are hurt, that's why we shout. We do not smile. Independent core city leadership mayor merely smile. Governing board member, Air Pollution Control District. Councilor Libera, absentee. Governing board member is still reaching Air Pollution Control District. Air Pollution Control District is business oriented, not a warrior to reduce pollution. Go and attend the meeting. Look at their faces. We are on crisis and they can still afford to smile and laugh. And their effort now is cost recovery. What about the cost? Dollar and value of humans, sick and dying. Tijuana River. Do you know the progress of the distribution of your palliative solution? Councilor Lacaba, wake up! Mayor Gloria, step down! Councilor Lacaba, step down! All of you step down except for one hope. Councilor Campillo.
Thank you, Cesar Javier. Next is allegedly Audra,
More to-
followed by Alan C.
So I have some serious concerns about intentions on people on this board and their ability to make sound mind decisions. Rebecca, you have still refused to help the woman who was hit and by a vehicle, and the ALPR cameras in your community obviously are pointless when there is nothing that can be done, and the sheriff tells her that, and you refuse to even communicate with the family, leaving it up to the sheriff. It's ridiculous. And then as well, the people in this room and across the county and nation and state that are promoting pedophilia. I'm not going to let this go because this is a huge issue and children are at risk. When we're spending money to promote pedophilia across the board, it is dangerous. Extremely dangerous, because you're opening up a door that's so wide you're not going to be able to shut it. And what happened in Oceanside, Esther, the other day was rather disturbing. So the flag is a trans flag. It is a MAPS is on there, minor attracted persons. I shouldn't have to tell you guys this, but that is child rape that is being promoted, glorified, encouraged, and all of this. And after that meeting, some of the LGBTQ community assaulted a boy because they were upset that the flag actually didn't get voted in, which was fantastic because God is so good and he will slam doors shut that need to be. And that's why I'm going to go into all of your communities, and every single one of you that has been promoting pedophilia must absolutely stop, because you are putting children in danger. You are encouraging predators to continue raping children if you don't stand up against it. And this has nothing, we shouldn't even be promoting sexuality or paying money to do that, like in San Diego City with the Pride Promenade. There are people that are homeless on the streets, and we're spending our money to promote sexuality. It'd be like me if I was on my period and I have a flag that has a tampon on it that has blood on it. So that would be ridiculous, right? So let's get
Thank
back
you,
over.
allegedly Audra. Your time has expired. Next is Alan C., followed by Paula Bowl online.
We discussed last time, the people on this side of the room can't even see me unless they put a crick in their neck. Security mentioned you're not moving this podium because of security, but look where he's standing. Why can't we put the podium there so everybody can equal access to see our PowerPoint slides that you won't allow us to put on the big board? Now take a look at that. Here we're talking about you still have not removed the managed lane toll road off the 2025 plan. That's a tax. And yet, if you don't mind turning it over, Cesar, turn it over to the other side. Cesar, turn it over. Yeah. Vargas, your former chair, will push the mileage tax. And it's still on the plan. So on top of the gas tax, we're paying almost $5, yet every other state's paying $2.50, $2 a gallon tax. Now you're talking about a mileage tax, and you're also talking about toll roads and every freeways. Why hasn't this board taken it off the plan? It's still on the damn plan. And we're speaking about stuff on here. I know this board hates cars because in your instructions, your own instructions, you said you can take the transit to attend this meeting as a public speaker. You can take bike parking, park in the parking garage. Yet not one mention about people can take a car to drive down there for the people that do want to drive down there. Raise your hand if you didn't drive this morning. Raise your hand. Nobody. One person. Two people. The rest you took your own car. Yet you're not telling the public. Put it in the instructions. Stop paying the cards because most people will not take your disease bus, COVID, what have you. Realize that people are fed up, wasting their money in the bike lanes and all that, the transit tax, because of Vargas is pushing the California Resource Board to push a mileage tax, a toll road, and 125 toll is not going away. The Coronado toll is back. And why are we even studying toll in Coronado? Why is it on the report later on the agenda? Because you're going to bring it back with every lane, every freeway gets a toll lane, put people more condensed traffic. So if you're rich, pay the damn fee. But the rest of us, we get stuck in more traffic. How does that help your climate footprint, people, when you have a parking lot in every freeway?
Thank you, Ellen. Your time has expired. Going online to Paul the Bold, followed by Blair Beekman.
Yes, despite management's pretense of openness to new routes for the Lausanne tracks that it had to choose, and we could present new ideas at the community forums, that's plural. Fox News reports that SANDAG has proposed 4 alternatives for relocating the tracks, and public feedback will be open, but only one community forum. Board discussion was halted abruptly. Doesn't sound like openness to new ideas to me. I feel double-crossed. On SANDAG's comments website, it claims the Lausanne realignment project is to improve resiliency and reliability of the Delmar part of the Lausanne corridor, where the rail line now runs along eroding coastal bluffs. But the problem's not only Delmar, it's in San Clemente on down. We need a 100-year Lausanne plan, not 10. All this is just transferring the route problem and the erosion problem from the Delmar Bluffs to the Solana Beach. Who's next? The houses that will have to be demolished, beach facilities, other cities? One option to leave the track in dangerous path when SANDAG was told to get it off the bluffs, which keep eroding anyway, and 3 options, all of which end up in the unstable eroding beach below the Delmar Fair, and which have a house in the way, which will either be terrorized by noise and vibrations from the underground tunnel, have the yard taken over by ventilation shafts and stuff, or the property expropriated outright. And what of the people who get injured or have a heart attack in the long, probably deep tunnel? After the April 5.2 magnitude earthquake near Julian, NCDT paused train service between Solana Beach
Thank you,
and
Paul. Your time has expired. Next is Blair Beekman, followed by our last public comment by phone number 672.
Hi, Blair Beekman. I hope you can hear me. Thanks for the meeting today. Hi to everyone. I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area still. I'll be here for the remainder of the week, and I'll be returning to San Diego the first week of June. To comment on the words of DRA, again, she's working on this ALPR issue. The city of San Jose, they've done some good work to try to create when ALPR data can be shared, how it can be shared with victims of crime. It's important to be able to set a precedent, neutral way that both sides can talk about this issue down here in San Diego with DRA in the future. So good luck in those efforts to look into San Jose's work, legal work on the matter. To also mention, I checked out and reviewed the micro mobility, I think, workshop you had in the beginning of May. It was really cool. I mean, it was an awesome subject matter, and it was a really interesting, informative learning lesson about the future of micro mobility in San Diego that we wanted to be working on and kind of got sidetracked with and confused. And we've taken a few steps back, and it looks like you're trying to just walk it through again, and so we can do it well again in the future. You didn't talk about the future of automated vehicles very much, I don't think. Being up here in the San Francisco Bay Area, man, there are a ton of automatic vehicles going around, and Waymo is starting to really introduce automatic vehicle taxi service at different cities like San Diego and San Jose at this time. So we got to get ready for that and learn to have those conversations. I'm not a big fan of it, but we should be having those conversations more in some way. And about the airplane things that happened in San Diego yesterday, we're really trying to build a love life philosophy at the local level. And it's important that we love life.
Thank you, Blair. Your time has expired. Next is our last public comment, our last non-agenda public comment by phone number ending in 672. You're self-muted, so please go ahead and speak. Go ahead, 672. Phone number. You're unmuted. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I got it. Sorry. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, got it. So thank you. Consuelo here. At the beginning of all meetings, you claim to acknowledge tribes and the injustices they've endured. Yet, this agency continues to disrespect and be unjust to the people residing on this land now. Such empty, cheap words said only to deceive the people into continuing to believe in this corrupt and fraudulent agency. They're lowering the speed everywhere, implementing roundabouts where they can, putting in ridiculous bike lanes, especially in the communities of low income, struggling demographics that can't really stand up to fight because they're too busy trying to pay their mortgage or their rent. They've gone outside their lane and have their dirty, corrupt, deceitful noses into things outside of transportation, housing. They continue to be reckless and wasteful on the people's dime, while at the same time ignoring the concerns of the people paying for it all. They've bribed and misled the people into accepting their plans that accommodate an agenda designed for control and movement everywhere. This agency has nothing to do with justice, as they claim at the beginning, being just. And the only thing it is sustainable on is lying and deceiving the public into believing there's an actual carbon issue, and we have the power to solve that. It's such a joke, and I hope you people who reside on the board and go back to wherever you came from, you get a grip, you start being honest, you start actually working for the people, because it's going to catch up to all of you, honestly. It's just a matter of time, and people are waking up. And it's just, you know, not to be a Debbie Downer, but it's not looking good for the ones who stay in the lies. And as my friend Michael Brando says, how good could it get?
Thank you, Consuelo. Your time has expired. That concludes our non-agenda public comment, Chair.
Thank you, Michael. Any non-agenda member comments at this time? I see Council Member Jewel Edson for NCTD.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to provide two updates, one on the Lausanne corridor current closure and also one on NCTD Plus. So with regard to the Lausanne update, over the past 4 years, St. Clementi's eroding bluffs have repeatedly forced closure of the rail line that has operated largely uninterrupted for more than 125 years. Both Amtrak Pacific Surfliner and Metrolink passenger rail service through St. Clemente will remain temporarily halted until the current work is finished in early June. Until that time, work will continue daily, including the Memorial Day holiday, to reinforce the rail line in St. Clemente so that the tracks may be reopened to passenger service as soon as possible. To stabilize the bluffs, 3 project areas were identified. OCTA applied for, and an emergency coastal development permit was partially approved in early April. Additional work was approved by Coastal on May 7th, all to build an approximately 1,400 foot long catchment wall, like a seawall, in Area 3. This week, crews continued to strategically place riprap in project areas 1 and 2. Work is finished in area 2. It's nearing completion in area 1, and also in the stretch between areas 1 and 2, the portion most recently approved by Coastal. Since work began in late April, approximately 5,400 tons of riprap has been placed next to the tracks. The CTC approved approximately $92 million in funding for the catchment wall in Area 3 on May 16th. The total package of projects is estimated to cost approximately $300 million, and the project components consist of 95% sand and 5% armory. The NCTD plus microtransit in Vista. NCTD is going the extra mile to offer a new transportation choice in Vista. The new NCTD Plus microtransit zone launched on May 19th and serves the greater Vista area, providing connections to key destinations. NCTD Plus is an on-demand microtransit service that provides shared rides anywhere within a defined service zone. It's perfect for short local trips and fills the first last mile gap for transit riders. It first launched last year in San Marcos and has been very successful. Our vehicles are comfortable, ADA accessible, and seat up to 8 passengers. Requesting a ride is easy. Riders can book through the app in real time or by calling NCTD reservations. Youth ride free with the YOP, and new riders can get their first trip free with the promo code FREE-RIDE. After taking advantage of that free ride, the fare is $1.50 for trips that start or end at the Sprinter station and $3 otherwise. And each additional rider, if you're paying the $3, each additional rider on the same booking is $1.50 each. For more information, visit gonctd.com/plus.
Thank you. For the Department of Defense, Muska Lake.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Navy Region Southwest and our Admiral, I wanted to extend our deepest gratitude to first responders and SDG&E for acting swiftly and professionally in response to the unfortunate aviation accident at Murphy Canyon Navy Housing. In the moments of crisis, their service makes all the difference, and we are eternally grateful for their commitment and care. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our hearts go out to those who lost members and are injured and who've lost their homes. Yeah. Councilmember Shin.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to give a staff recommendation recognition. So on May 15th, a lot of us members attended the North County EDC Economic Summit. It was hosted in San Marcos, and one of the staff here, Naomi Young, who's our principal economist, she's presented about our county economic status and our forecasting, which is pretty interesting these days. But I want to give a lot of recognition to her. She had so much poise, outstanding representation for SANDAG, demonstrated a high level of competence as a subject matter expert, showed grace, and surprisingly, the sense of humor is what I got out of her. I didn't know she had it, and she made that whole entire room feel like we're all part of this family. So just give her some kudos.
Naomi, would you have anything you'd like to say? You were just praised deeply. You paid for the cat, yeah. Yeah, you're a rock star. Wonderful. All right, Mayor Gasterland.
Yes, I want to convey a request from Del Mar residents about the Del Mar Bluff Stabilization Executive Director. We'd like to know where we can find a list of some sort of upcoming tasks that are going to happen. So for example, yesterday, there was jackhammering all day long at 7th Street.
Terry, move your mic.
Oh, all day long at 7th Street, there was jackhammering all day on the concrete installation that we call the amphitheater. So that's now not there, which is fine. But now people are wondering what's going to happen with the concrete rubble, what will be the final version of it. And there's just nowhere for people. We just have to wait and see, oh, what's happening next? And as you know, that can be sometimes startling. And then the other part of the request is colors and materials. There's now a 1-mile gravel road, for example, that's going all along the west side of the tracks. And it can we turn it another color so it blends in better, for example? So these are the things that are happening at this point, and it'd be really nice. It's a big project. It's $80 million, and it's a mile long, so it affects many people. So that's the request. And the announcement is that yesterday, everybody got a postcard with the NOP date, and the NOP hearing, we now know throughout town, which is great, will be May 29th, 6 to 7:30 p.m. at the fairgrounds at the Sound.
Thank you. Staff will get back to you with all that information. Deputy Mayor Chavez.
Thank you and good morning, everyone. I just wanted to mention that on May 15, we cut the ribbon for the Gaylord Pacific Resort and Convention Center in Chula Vista. It's a nationwide project that's putting the region for sure on the map. I know it's booked out for several months now in the convention center side. And not just that, but it offers 1,600 guest rooms. And it created 1,400 permanent jobs. And it lit up my heart when, I talked to the owner and they said, people, when we were hiring them, they were crying because they were so happy because just the economy of what's happening right now, especially around our border region, many people have lost their jobs. Maybe many people are just happy that they're finding a job close to their home. And that is what we're here for, right? We're here to create revenue for the region, to create solutions for the regions, and also create jobs for constituents. A projected revenue of 475 million. That is something to be aware annually, right? We want to create projects like this moving forward that put us in the epicenter. And we are an economic engine, and that's what we want to project. And I also want to just take a quick moment to highlight that we have Memorial Day coming up, and that we appreciate everyone who served and everyone's sacrifice. And let's not forget that we are here as a free country. Thank you to everyone that sacrificed their life.
Thank you. Mayor Jones.
Thank you, Chair. I actually wanted to also commend Naomi. She did a great job. He was spot on. Definitely Kevin was spot on that. And that was the day that it was Bike Anywhere Day, which I was able to do that and then get over to the university and in my seat on time. But I was stressing a little bit, I have to admit. Anyway, I also wanted to just commend staff and also board leadership. I believe there is a different culture. And I just want to commend each one of you for showing leadership. And my city manager has been here this week as part of the interview panel for the Director of Internal Controls, which is going to change, I think, so much financially for our organization, and being able to prove where things are going, how, improving the controls beforehand so that our outside independent auditor does not have to find things. We want clear audit reports. I know there is a big one coming out next week. I really know that we are doing everything we can to change the culture internally, and I know that's going to be proved up, and I hope that we talk about it more. So I hope that we, so with our Director of Lean Government in San Marcos, we are also telling our residents more what we're doing and why we're doing the things that we're doing, because that actually proves up what we have been doing internally and how that is for a customer experience and how that is saving money and that sort of thing. So I hope we do a better job of that, and that internal controls person will be doing that as well. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thanks very much. And I do also want to thank all the board members who participated in Bike Anywhere Day. And thank you to our staff for making it a wonderful event for all of our communities. Much appreciated. Also, a quick reminder, we do have one more board meeting this month. This is the 5th Friday month, 1 of 4. So our next board meeting is scheduled for next Friday, May 30th. With that, I'll turn it over to Mario for his update.
Thank you, Chair. Well, as you can see, there's a lot of happening, north, south, east, west. This last week, I did travel to San Francisco for the California Transportation Commission meeting, and also went in San Francisco, met with Coastal Commission leadership to discuss upcoming multiple permit issues and foster partnerships. Also this week, we made it, part of the team went to Houston, and we went and talked to the Houston MPO and looked at their emergency operations centers as well as their multiple managed lane systems that they have. Also this week, I had the pleasure to meeting with Chairman Smith from PALA. He's the chairman of the Southern California Tribal Chairmen's Association. It was kind of a reunion because we worked together about 20 years ago when I was tribal liaison for Caltrans. So we remembered a lot of endeavors that we went through. We had a lot of discussions about how to foster partnerships and increase the relationship. Chairman Smith mentioned that Southern California Tribal Chairmen's Association will be discussing their membership and seeing what is their request of what type of membership they would like, if it would be voting member or something else. We all know that this is a journey. It's not an immediate decision, but Chairman Smith was cognizant and committed to have that conversation within all the tribal chairmen, and then they will bring up their points of view here. We also had an ACEC meeting. This is basically the different consulting agencies, architectural and engineering. We had a meeting here with them in the SANDAG building. And the bulk of the presentation and the frank discussion is how can we reduce cost and make more efficient our project deliveries. So it's a partnership that we need to do with our consultants. So this is very important. I know this is scheduled for next week's board meeting, but I have to just mention, without making an item of discussions, that we did have the audit committee meeting yesterday. Sole source audit was discussed. I think the biggest takeaways, and I know we'll have more in-depth conversations, was the question was there any fraud or misuse? No. And it basically boils down that we need to work on our processes and taking a fresh look in some of the areas of how the organization is set up. As Mayor Jones mentioned, we have had this week the internal controls director interviews. We're hoping to have the final second interviews next week and move on with the position and start implementing that. Also, the governor's May revised budget was out May 14th. Similar to the president's budget proposal at the federal level, the transportation funding remains somewhat static, but there are some areas that we're keeping track of some programs that may have some cuts. So we're looking into that, monitoring it, and we'll come and report. In that token, next week, the chair and myself will be in Sacramento. We will be researching this item and discussing it with several people as we continue to elevate the board's points on housing that has been brought up here. On some project updates, very excited to say that today our draft regional plan will be released. We are meeting the 19% emission reduction target that the state requires for us in order to continue receiving federal funding. There will be a 55-day comment period all the way till July 18. There will be multiple meetings presenting the team, both in person and virtual. Now, one big highlight is that this RTP is $126 billion. It has to be fiscal balance with our projections of revenue. This is less than the prior two plans that have been submitted to the board in the past, and it's basically a reality-based check of what we can afford. But it will also begin, like we have been discussing, that conversation about priorities, that you as a board will be taking some decisions on what programs, projects should be moving ahead faster and which ones we should keep pursuing. So that's coming. Also very excited, and thank you to our partners in Caltrans, as they are the lead agency on the 1578 managed lane. Draft environmental document was released. Like I said in Transportation Committee, I think we can't deny that North County is booming. The city of San Marcos is becoming a hub, is a hub. We don't have one state university in San Diego. We have two, and San Marcos State is one of them. And it's really, it's a booming area, similar to like Chula Vista. So we need to enhance, keep balance with the infrastructure as development is occurring. So, you know, that project will be basically adding express lanes from the I-15 express lanes. It will add a direct connector and 3 miles of express lanes on SR-78. Again, thank you to Caltrans. There will be public meetings. There's a 45-day comment period, and there will be a public meeting on June 5th at 6 p.m. at the San Marcos Community Center. SANDAG is very excited. We are the sponsor agency for this, and we're excited to continue our partnership with Caltrans. Also, another project achievement, the Lawson Realignment Notice of Preparation, I will call it Phase 2, Chapter 2, was released. This is after the value analysis. This is after the board selected the alternatives that were going to go on the NOP. There's a 45-day comment period through June 30th. We're looking forward to receiving as much feedback as possible. Like the Mayor Gasterland mentioned, there will be a public meeting next Thursday, May 29th at Del Mar Fairgrounds at 6 p.m. to have the public bring in their comments. On the back office, as I have been mentioning, we've been working on getting this system online. Currently, we're working on some issues with the vendors. This basically on the interface of all the different softwares that need to connect each other and the data migration. Our vendors, Deloitte and NA2B, have acknowledged that the challenge and the delay is on their side. But we are working. We did request to them to give us a worst and best case scenario for when this will be in line, so we can come and tell you, the board, what's the range of the potential delays. We are expecting to go live on the winter, on this coming winter, but we do want to see that schedule that will be provided to us. The team, the SANDAG team, will be providing on June 13 an update on this project to the board. Also, Elvira to Morena Lawson alignment. This is a project that was done several years ago. It was a double track project. It had a 28-foot high retaining wall. We have seen that the retaining wall has been moving, and we've been monitoring this. So we have initiated an emergency project to stabilize the work. We have kept leadership abreast of this. We will be coming as soon as we have more information to provide you detailed information. Right now, the current cost estimate is around $15 million of this stabilization project. We are in constant communication with MTS and North County Transit regarding this issue. And I think the biggest thing is we have to be cognizant that first priority is safety. So this is why we move forward with an emergency project. And also the operational integrity of the line. But definitely when things like this occur, we need to mobilize as soon as possible. Bike Anywhere Day, like the chair said, it was a great success. We were 11% higher participation than prior years. There were more than 10,000 pit stop visits. This was exciting. This is the biggest numbers since COVID, so thank you for that. And finally, I just want to remind everybody that our offices will be closed here in our customer service center for Memorial Day, May 26th, this coming Monday. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mario. Mayor Jones, did you have something you wanted to add?
I did. Thank you so much. So thank you for your discussion about the infrastructure. You know, a lot of people don't even know this, but we have around 97,000 people and 40,000 more students that actually are coming in and getting educated every day. So that's a real draw on our infrastructure. So, and then, you know, with the second hospital coming now in 25 square miles, which is pretty significant, that's about 3,000 new high-paying jobs, which is a big deal. So we want to keep people there that are getting educated. We don't want them to leave. We want them to stay off the roads, of course. And then I wanted to just commend staff, you know, looking through the reports, you know, the P cards, 0 business meals expenses. That's a big change in what we had seen previously. And I just want to say again, you know, the culture has changed here, so keep up the good work. And I just want all of the board to really recognize, and the public too, what's happening. We are changing it. It is a big difference, you know, riding such a big ship, but I believe that we are doing it. So anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, we're going to move on to consent. Michael, do we have any public comments?
We do. We have 5 in person and we have 4 online. Before we get into them, just to note for the record that the cities of Chula Vista, Del Mar, El Cajon, and Oceanside are now present. The first public comment will go in person is Cesar Javier, followed by allegedly Audra. Please identify which consent item you're speaking to.
Lumped up from minutes up to 7 in my engineering English. Madam Chair, Sir CEO. Minutes. Corruption equals monopoly plus discretionary minus accountability. We were watchful on the minutes. Records are our patrimony. This is the product of physical, moral, and intellectual efforts, if only to come up with solutions. We heard you, ma'am, over there, very loud and very clear. Our salute. While it is true that the mission of SANDAG is in mobility and circulation, excellent. It's an envy to other pillars of urban planning, which is man, his shelter, and shall we lump up safety and protection? We are missing that, city of San Diego, the core city, Sir Lakaba. We need your input here in the minutes. On number 3, just to reconcile with the vision of SANDAG, the city of San Diego has investment. You could only withdraw, or you have only that fluid of 25%. 65% is tied up for money, corruption. Why? That's why we have homeless. That's why we have sick, dying San Diegans. They're not just merely San Diegans. These are the soldiers, the warriors that made our republic great. Mr. Lakaba, Mr. Mayor, where are you? Mr. Delanius King.
Thank you, Caesar. Your time has
Councilor-
expired. Next is allegedly Audra, followed by Alan C. Please identify what item you're speaking to. If the next public commenter can please line up behind the next individual.
I can hardly hear what you're saying, but I'm going to assume you want to know what number I'm speaking on. Number 7. It's whatever. The sound in here just really sucks. So with this double tracking, you know, you need to make sure that you're not going to be putting anybody out of their homes and or all of the going underground, how that's going to be disturbing the earth and potentially causing more earthquakes or different things that, you know, whatever. And with this bikeway stuff, it's like we're spending all of this money to provide bike lanes that hardly anybody uses. Like the cost benefit ratio is ridiculous because you're spending millions of dollars expecting people to just like, if we build it, they will come type of a mentality. And, you know, we have roads that need to be fixed, but all you guys think about is like charging us more, providing less services, and just trying to control our movements and make sure that we can't just get around without, you know, paying a buttload of money. It's like we already know that we pay money and taxes for gas that's supposed to go to certain things. Then you guys sit here and you tell people that you're going to do something and then you completely go against it. And it's just ridiculous. That's why you guys can't even be trusted to spend our money because you do it on stuff. I mean, how many times does Bill Will needs to say that? But it's like, poor him sitting here being the only one that has the cojones to actually speak up about something. It's like everybody just kind of capitulates and goes along with everything. I mean, nobody really has like any ability to stand in the gap for the people. And you're supposed to represent the people, but you don't. You represent the United Nations, you represent the state. I mean, anything but the people, because it doesn't matter what they tell you. It's like you're going to do what you want anyway, and it's bullshit.
Thank you. Next is Alan C., followed by Truth.
It's a beautiful day. Why don't you open the blinds and you'll see what I just saw. An empty trolley just went by again and again and again, yet you all live in your little shell. Number 7, we talk about expanding the tracks again, yet Mario mentioned $50 million to fix a seawall, not the bluff, but the seawall. You cannot hold back the entire Pacific Ocean, you morons. You need to move the track now. We discussed it, we voted on it, and yet you're still spending more money to double track another lagoon, San Onofre and all that, which will be all tax waste because eventually it's going to hit you when I guess Mario says it's going to open this fall during the rainstorms and then another shutdown. We got right now, what is it? Encinitas, Jewel mentioned shut down. You take a free shuttle. It's not free. Guess who's paying for it? You are. We are. It's ridiculous. Number 6, Transnet. So now we're looking at all these studies. Carolina, please take charge of this. So right now we're looking at, instead of paying off the toll 125, we're investing $49.9 million U.S. Bank and another $1.163 billion in multiple banks investors. Yet you use our transit funds to buy off that 125, yet you won't stop the toll. And you also, Mario mentioned, we're also looking at the toll roads and all the remaining lanes. Well, guess you're hurting the working class people because they can't afford to manage lanes. So what are you doing? Just helping the rich? What about your so-called equity? To actually take away road lanes, convert them to managed lanes. No, you're not adding express lanes. You're adding more concrete barriers, which could be another road lane, and taking away existing road lanes so people suffer in more traffic, more climate footprint, or they finally give up and pay the additional fee on a road that is already paid for. Right now, New York is going through a lot of battle. What's happening in their city? Sean Duffy said, you cannot do that. Freedom of movement. That's what's going to happen to this board. You're going to lose all your federal funding and every crap that you're pulling on the American people. Knock it off. Take care of the people. And yes, we love our cars. I yield back.
Thank you. Next is Truth, followed by Randy Torres Van Vleck.
Item 2, the $50,000 plus board retreat, which I'm going to talk about next week, started late by 1 hour and 3 minutes. The attendance report fails to say who arrived late. Del Mar, El Cajon, Escondido, and Poway had nobody attend either day. Was it a boycott? Or maybe some are less committed to the big ship, and I said ship to be specific. And there was a member comment on May 1st. Kevin actually spoke. Item 3, it says there's no change in SR 11 cost, but somebody must have paid for parts of it to be deconstructed. The total cost of 23 meetings in 3 months was $5,612. So instead of blowing $50,000 on a 2-day meeting, SANDAG could have had at least 220 meetings at this building, or maybe 100 meetings in several East County cities and communities. And staff, make sure your monthly reconciliation package is approved on time. Who was present at the Mission Valley Library meeting on the Climate Action Roadmap with the San Diego City CBOs? Item 4, why does Lemon Grove get a retroactive time extension? Why isn't there a penalty or something? Are they even here today? I don't think they deserve one. Item 5, this MTS data is only from 3 years ago, not 10-year data, because then it showed that operating costs are up and paid ridership is still way down. That's data-driven deception in action. What is true is that the coaster is overpriced, 5 to 7 times the passenger cost, plus 3.5 times the operating cost, the ridership. So that's why, cost of the trolley operating it. And the trolley has 2.5 times the ridership. So that's why I want trolleys for North County. It just makes economic sense. And item 6, the Treasury section says the market is responding to Trump tariffs, but then it says bond markets have calmed. Make that make sense. And item 7, noted $23.4 million for 2.8 miles of slime green paint to destroy North Park and City Heights. And for the money, well, hold on. Double tracking LOSON that's going to be removed is off by $5 million. How did staff not expect a lack of state funding when they have a $12 billion deficit? Once again, can you make this make sense for us normal people? Maybe Carolina's money mind can answer that. That's what you're all about, right? Money, money, money. Why don't you answer it?
Thank you, Truth. Your time has expired. Next is Randy Torres Van Vleck, followed by Nicole Burgess.
Good morning. Good morning, board members. Good to see you all. My name is Randy Torres Van Vleck, and I'm the Associate Director of Community and Housing Development at PANA. And PANA was founded 10 years ago in City Heights, and we're here today to speak in favor of item 7 on the consent package, University Avenue Bikeway. We're very excited for this project, which will improve one of the most dangerous streets in the city of San Diego. It's going to make it safer and easier for people to walk, bike, and drive to their homes in the neighborhood, to businesses on University Avenue, to access transit stops for bus stops 7, 10, 852, and 955. Sadly, the University Avenue corridor and the area that the project will benefit has one of the lowest scores in the city of San Diego, using the Caltrans Transportation Equity Index, which looks at different transportation priority populations, traffic safety, traffic exposure. So the improvements that this project will create are very much needed in our community in Mid-City, so we welcome them. In addition to the regional benefits that the project will produce, we're really excited for this project because PANA is building the Global Village project, which is going to be 100 plus affordable housing unit with a space for civic community space on University Avenue. So we welcome the project. We're developing on land that the community purchased 2 years ago. And we hosted our first Bike Anywhere Day pit stop last week, and we had a great time talking to community members. We're very excited about this project and additional SANDAG projects. This project has been a long time in the coming. The working group started in 2012, which I served on at that time, and many groups have helped to shape the project, including the City Heights Built Environment Team, City Heights CDC Environmental Health Coalition. It took a long time to make happen. By the time it opens, it'll be 15 years later. We need to be approaching these projects with greater urgency. So we appreciate you approving it today. Let's change the way we do the planning so we can make these projects happen more quickly.
Thank you, Randy. Next is Nicole Burgess, followed by first online comment of Steve Gelb.
Good morning, and great to see so many of you familiar faces here this morning, so thank you all. I appreciate all of you on this board as prominent leaders doing your best for your communities, and I thank you for your leadership and your support for protected and safe bikeway projects. I'm here today because I truly love the simple pleasures of riding a bike. I ride for transportation and love to ride through the county, ride to my mom's in Escondido, and to visit all of you down here in SANDAG. To be safe and comfortable is key to happiness on a bike, and to enjoy healthy lifestyles, and to feel the joy and fresh air with a big smile. One of my fondest memories, as I recall, is with Mayor Rebecca Jones, riding a bike on a protected bikeway in her community. It was wonderful to see. It was beautiful. She was along with Mayor Blake Sphere at the time, Senator Blake Sphere, collaborating and sharing ideas, smiling. Beautiful, I don't know how many people really see that side of you. It was beautiful. There's also no way that that would happen on University Avenue right now. We deserve a connected network of bikeways everywhere, throughout our county, throughout our communities. Poway, I'd love one on Palmerado Road today. And that wonderful path from Pulgas Road to San Onofre. How many of you have done that 11 miles on a bicycle with 70-mile-an-hour exhaust fumes? Please support these projects. They are critical. I have 30 seconds, so I would like to give a few seconds as a moment of silence for all the lives lost to traffic fatalities. There's too many. Cyclists alone, but also drivers. Recently lost a classmate, one of my child, on the 15 and 94. Don't tell me it's safe out there in a car. Don't tell me it's fun in a car. Don't tell me I should go buy a car. The joys of riding a bike are too grand. Thank you.
Next is Steve Gelb online, followed by San Diego County Bicycle Coalition.
Good morning, board members. I also want to thank you for the wonderful service that you do. I know how difficult it is to stay up to date with all of the things that you have to follow on and be at these meetings. And here's some of the abusive comments that you unfortunately get. I'm a 77-year-old person who uses my bicycle for transportation whenever I can. And I know how hard it is to ride safely in the areas between established bicycle infrastructure. And I ride on streets that others are afraid to ride on. Genesee Avenue, Texas Street between Mission Valley and University Heights. But parts of University Avenue are currently too dangerous even for me. When safe bike connections between neighborhoods exist, people use them. For example, the paths between Ocean Beach and Mission Valley and between Pacific Beach and La Jolla are both well-traveled by cyclists. The university extension is an important connection that needs to be completed. We see in cities around the US and the world that connected cycling infrastructure dramatically increases bike ridership, and this increases the quality of everyone's life by reducing traffic congestion and air pollution. And I forgot to say at the beginning of my remarks that I'm addressing item 7. I hope that was obvious. So thank you for your time and your attention.
Thank you. Next is the San Diego County Bicycle Coalition, followed by phone number ending in 672.
Good morning, this is Chloe Lauer. I'm the Executive Director of the San Diego County Bicycle Coalition. We want to also echo the thanks of our colleagues and thank SANDAG for your great work, staff and board alike, for funding and completing many of our region's best bikeway projects. Today, we urge the board to uphold SANDAG's promises through the Early Action Program and Vision Zero resolution, and award the construction contract for University Bikeway between Estrella Avenue and 70th Street. I'm speaking for number 7, by the way. This stretch of University has some of the most dangerous conditions for people biking in mid-city, with level 4 traffic stress, multiple lanes, high speeds, and no vertical protection. Between 2018 and 2022, this corridor saw 33 bike collisions, including 1 fatality. Despite the dangers, people continue to bike here, which demonstrates strong demand. From our experience with Pershing Drive, we know that delays cost lives, and we cannot afford to make that mistake again. This bikeway improves safety, reduces traffic stress, connects mid-city residents on a key east-west corridor to uptown and downtown, and of course, helps us meet our region's climate and mode shift goals. Please don't let this opportunity slip away. Let's build University Avenue Bikeway before ATP funding and more lives are lost. Thank you.
Next is phone number ending in 672.
Consuelo here. Yeah, let's build up university because none of that demographic is paying any kind of attention to what happens at these meetings. Good little slaves. Anyways, amen to Ellen. Absolutely. We definitely see empty buses and trolleys all the time. along with empty bike lanes and toll roads. By the way, reminder to SANDAG, all those cars dangerously speed through my community just to bypass the toll fees. So how about trying to just get on that, man. And the Academy Award goes to the scripted shills. The lady shill that loves riding her bike. Yes, let's inconvenience an entire population to accommodate your love for the joy of riding a bike. Great job at recruiting these scripted shills, SANDAG. Oh my God. Oh, but let me end with Carolina. You mentioned something being permanent. Nothing is permanent, sister. Those people at the opening were crying because they probably realized they exist only to be tax cattle remaining on this never-ending hamster tax wheel until the grave, like the rest of us. Okay, I'm done.
Thank you. Next is Jason, followed by Paul the Bold.
Good morning. My name is Jason Vance, and I'm calling to support item 7, the University Bikeway. I want to start by saying how much I appreciate SANDAG's dedication to building bike lanes. For most of my adult life, I've commuted by car, but because of projects like the Pershing Bikeway, Fifth Ave Bikeway, and the Mead Bikeway, I've been able to safely and confidently bike commute from North Park to downtown every day, and it's changed how I get around the city. These high-quality bike lanes make biking not only safer, but really enjoyable. I've especially been excited about future projects like the Imperial Ave Bikeway, which is going to improve access to Southeast San Diego. But today, I want to fully express my support for the University Ave Bikeway. I hope that one day I can safely bike all the way to La Mesa. The biggest issues our city faces have simple solutions, and shifting our streets from car-centric to people-centric will be a major part of the solution. More biking means less traffic and less parking issues, so let's move towards more biking. Thank you for investing in carbon-free transportation and helping make our region more connected and sustainable. Thank you.
Next is Paul the Bold, followed by Blair Beekman.
Yeah. 3, CEO delegated actions. A 14% increase in roadway maintenance rehab account funding in preparation for advertising for construction. The way you shut out certain contractors from bidding on this makes it seem like a bit of a scam. 7, approval of contract for double tracking. Why are you giving out 10% contingency fees on both contracts while the inflation rate is 3% or so? You need an independent audit to find out why so high. The bid on this is a ridiculous 23% over the engineer's estimate, $4.7 million of taxpayer dollars. The statement says project delays caused by a change in the funding source and inflation. That doesn't sound very substantial. Not sure why this caused a whopping 23% cost increase. And part of this seems to be adding a third track. Is this correct? Something is not right. 5, TDA FY25 productivity improvement. There is a need for ADA paratransit on the SR56 corridor, yet the response to several complaints was the same. We will evaluate service along the SR56 as part of an upcoming analysis. No improvement or date when it could be expected. What a crock. And there have been no Council on Access and Mobility meetings since about October 24. You need to take care of the disabled better. It is disappointing that there is no total number of bus riders, only per revenue mile, which can change.
Thank you, Paul. Your time has expired. Next is Blair Beekman, followed by Leif Gensert.
Hi, thank you. Blair Beekman. It's my hope that if we're going to our local community level, if we're going to work on the ideas of freedom, that freedom is the ideas that we don't harm each other in the future. That's what a love life philosophy is about. I think we're working towards that at a local level. It's as we work on that at the local level, it's the national level that can understand that. That's how we build peace and not war and not harm to other people. I think it's an important concept we have to really concentrate and work on. Good luck how we can do it. With that said, I mean, it's what I work on here. It's part of the work I do in accountability, and it's a growing movement. City of Oakland actually has a major practice in it. With all that said, thank you. I wanted to comment on item 7, that it is, you know, the Lausanne corridor issues. You're going to be starting, you have a final contractor set for one end of the project. Mario, and this was a big conversation at a board of directors meeting in March, where Mario clarified how they're going to work on the project. I felt he said that, you know, major things are going to be starting by the fall. And I don't know how soon things will be starting. But like I've tried to stress, I think you guys, and especially your staff, you seem to be, you know, railroading the idea that the double tracking is a guarantee, and that's the only way to work and think. I think we really have to consider environmental concerns, and you guys aren't talking about that enough. And that having two, you know, at two ends of the Lausanne corridor, a double tracking can be of help. And that may just be enough. And you guys don't know how to have that conversation yet. I think we have to have that conversation and make it a regular part of the process.
Thank you, Blair. Your time has expired. Next is Leif Gensert, followed by our last public comment of Kirsten Markley.
Hello, everyone. My name is Leif Gensert. I'm a board member of RideSD. I fully support the implementing of the bikeway on University Avenue. We've seen with Pershing Bikeway what the gold standard of bike lanes is, so I want to see more of that in the city. But I explicitly also want to talk about the topic of the Lausanne corridor. We fully support double tracking the Lausanne corridor, not ideally all the way up to San Luis Obispo. That's further down the line. But yeah, we love to see that this is going forward. Just one adjacent note, we would also love to see the Lausanne corridor electrified. Thank you.
Our last public comment of Kirsten Markley.
Hi, good morning. My name is Kirsten Markley. I actually have some media that I'd like to share. It's a GoPro video of me actually riding on University this Sunday. I don't know how to get that in there. By the way, I'm speaking in support of item number 7. I really like to bike everywhere in the city. No one likes traffic. No one likes congestion. No one likes all of the fumes that come out of cars. And I avoid that by biking, and I help other people avoid that because I bike. I'm not another car in front of you. I am someone in the bike lane next to you, enjoying being outside in San Diego and getting where I need to go. But bike lanes aren't just for me either. They're for people with mobility needs who may have a scooter. We've all been on sidewalks where there's some sort of sign for a cafe or something where you can't get around it. I have 2 kids, so I'm often pushing a stroller around as well. And I've been on the sidewalk where you can't get the stroller around and you've got to go down the curb and back up the curb. And having a bike lane gives you an option. You can push that stroller in the bike lane. You can use your other mobility aid in the bike lane. The video I wanted to show is me on University, and a rideshare car pulls directly in front of me, and if I didn't have good brakes and I didn't pay attention much, I probably would have resulted in a collision. And I'll email this to probably my city member and anyone else who'd like to see it afterwards. But if I'd been on my bike with my kids, I couldn't imagine being able to stop that fast or maneuver that well. And that's what protected bike lanes do, is they let more people be on bikes. And for people who think that no one rides on these bike lanes because you don't see them 24/7, because it's not like car traffic where it blocks up a bunch, I really invite you to come down to the Bayshore Bikeway and see all the bikes. It's 8 miles with not much in between except for Coronado and Imperial Beach, one of the smallest cities here, and people are on it all day. Old people, young people, families. It's beautiful, and I want more of that in San Diego.
Thank you, and that concludes our public comment, Chair.
Thank you. Are there any board member comments on consent? I see none. May I have a motion to approve consent? Moved by, who was that? By Minto, second by Mayor Esther Sanchez. Please use your devices to vote. Alrighty, let's now move on to our next item, which is the OME project update and procurement request. I'm going to turn this over to Maria and Andrea.
Good morning. This is my first time presenting here. This is very exciting. So my name is Maria Rodriguez Molina. I'm the Director of Mega Projects Border and Goods Movement. And with me, I have Dr. Andrea Hoff, who is our Border Delivery Manager. Today is a very important day for Otemesa East. On April 3rd, we finally signed a $150 million funding agreement for the grant. It's $150 million. With this money, we can finally move into construction. The timely use of this funding is of the essence. Not only we have $150 million that we need to obligate by September of this year, but this is a match of another very important state grant for $190 million. So we're here today to ask the Board of Directors to authorize the release of the request for proposals for the non-intrusive inspection technology. This technology is for Customs and Border Protection, and they'll utilize this at the new port of entry. Before we get into the details of the procurement, we want to go and tell you a little bit more about the project. We'll start with an overview, some of the history, how we already mitigated for the project. We'll talk about the economic impacts, and we'll go through the design advancements and the current status. As you know, the SO11 Otemesa East Port of Entry is a joint venture between SANDAG and Caltrans in collaboration with the federal government and with Mexico. This state-of-the-art 21st century port of entry started with a study that SANDAG concluded in 2008, and that study revealed that long wait times at the border were resulting in economic losses for the region, the state, and the nation. These losses were equivalent to 18 Super Bowls and 5 Qualcomm companies each year. Soon after that, the General Service Administration, who is the agency that owns border facilities, completed a feasibility study and highlighted the need for an additional port of entry in the San Diego region. Unfortunately, GSA had many demands for infrastructure at the border, so this one was not a priority. So Caltrans and SANDAG got together and decided we were going to help ourselves. The new federal port of entry, it will be on a 120-acre site. We'll design and build the port of entry and then gift it to our federal partners. Since then, Highway Federal Administration has participated on the project with more than $550 million. So we have gotten the federal support during all these years. This port of entry and the focus for today's presentation will include a lot of innovative technology that will make the port of entry more secure, will optimize processing of vehicles, and will reduce border wait times and emissions at the border. This project has 4 main components, and I know it's a very busy slide, and I'll explain why. So we see the connectors between SR125, SR905, and SR11, which are already all constructed. Then the State Route 11, which is 2.5 mile long, and it will go all the way to the new port of entry. and it's divided into segments. And then the last two segments are the port of entry facility and the commercial vehicle enforcement facility, which is an attached facility to the port of entry and is owned by the state. And after a truck comes through the port of entry, it gets inspected before it gets into the state highway system. So I know this slide looks very confusing, but I really wanted to highlight how this mega project was divided in smaller projects in order to deliver it faster. During the board retreat that some of you attended, we highlighted that it's easier to fund projects when they're right sized to pursue specific grants. So we split it in multiple segments. And so far we constructed everything except the commercial vehicle facility and the port of entry. But when you split a project, we do have to take some calculated risk. So when the opportunity came in 2019 to proceed with that last dotted segment of SR 11 and pursue a fast lane grant, we took the chance and matched it with another project, the eastbound connectors from SR 125 to SR 11 and 905. Both projects were $50 million each. And we were able to leverage this SHOP state funding, $50 million, and go for a grant funding, the fast lane, for $50 million. And we put out this project. At the time, we did not know exactly where the roadway SR11 ended and where the port of entry began. That line was not decided, but we took that chance. If today we had to award this contract, which was awarded in 2019 for $100 million. Today, due to a cost escalation, it would cost over $150 million. The reason I'm talking about all of this is because you might have seen in the news that there is some demolition right now on the very last piece of SR 11. It's 650 feet long. That demolition it's not costing us any money. It was part of the deal made with the contractor that is now preparing the site of Otamesa East. But we did demolish it, and we're reusing all of the material, crushing it, and using it on the port of entry itself. So we do acknowledge that, and we're trying to make the best out of it. But when you advance a project, you pay less for that project. Now that I gave you all of these details, I want to pass it on to Andrea so she can talk about the benefits, the economic benefits of the project.
Thank you, Maria. To begin, I'd like to point out that San Diego is home to two of the busiest land ports of entry in the world. San Ysidro is considered the busiest along the southern border and the fourth busiest in the world. Some call it the busiest in the world, with more than 70,000 vehicles and 20,000 pedestrians crossing each day northbound. Otay Mesa is the third busiest commercial port on our border with Mexico. It facilitates more than 60 billion in cross-border trade each year and close to 1 million trucks. And on a daily basis sees up to 4,000 trucks and 200,000 people. And you can see from the images on the right just how busy and constrained our existing land ports are. So why build a new port of entry in the San Diego region? And I'll ride the wave of Naomi Young, our principal economist, who has done some incredible economic analysis for this project. And this data comes from a recent study. Some of the reasons: San Diego is strategically located. We're the only region on the southern border with land ports next to marine ports, both in the US and in Mexico. These marine ports, this intermodal network, facilitates the movement of US manufactured goods to domestic and international markets. We're also a manufacturing and research and development hub. We manufacture high value goods such as semiconductors, machinery, precision equipment, electronics, among others. And as you can see in the graph on the right, This manufacturing center, the graph shows gross domestic product that's attributed to manufacturing. We are nearly double the size in GDP for manufacturing when compared to other border city pairs. So a really uniquely positioned region for a new port of entry. I'd like to talk about the environmental mitigation that was completed for this project. It's something that we are proud of. Caltrans and SANDAG went above and beyond in mitigating for environmental impacts. We complied with requirements and exceeded those of the National Environmental Policy Act and California Environmental Quality Act by acquiring over 180 acres of Lone Star Canyon. You can see in turquoise located on the map, a stream bed at Johnson Canyon that drains into Lone Star was restored and preserved. And the site is what they call vernal pool habitat for fairy shrimp, the Kino checker spot butterfly, burrowing owls, raptors, golden eagles, and a host of plants that are native for those species. The site acquisition at the time was coordinated with other ongoing development projects. And so you'll see on the map, the Otay Crossings, Otay Business Park, there was coordination done with these other projects so that the open space conserved land formed a network, nearly contiguous, as you can see from the map. So this is an exciting part of the presentation because it shows what we've achieved in terms of design. We're passing 65% design at this point. This slide shows an overview of the initial concept. Granted, there will be a few changes. This was just 65% design, but I'll walk you through some of the renderings. On the right in that mustard color is COV or commercially operated vehicles. So that's the truck northbound port of entry. All the trucks then go through the state-owned CVEF, Commercial Vehicle Enforcement Facility. I'll show you renderings of that. In beige are the privately operated vehicles traveling northbound. And then in dark blue are the outbound or southbound trucks and cars. And I'll just walk through some images of our recent design. Here we're looking at passenger vehicles northbound, traveling through 7 primary inspection lanes. The project is designed to allow for expansion in the future. Northbound PV contains a main building and a command center. It's sort of like the TMC or traffic management center for the port of entry to improve circulation. And there is secondary inspection with 20 bays. Commercial vehicles traveling northbound encounter 5 primary inspection lanes. There's a commercial inspection building with 48 dock bays and a commercial operations building. Oops. Here's a look at the commercial operations building, a rendering, and the commercial inspection building. The subject of today's item is some of the technology to be used by CBP. You can see on the right-hand side some non-intrusive technology. They're very large scanning equipment. And now we're traveling southbound, so into Mexico. Cars will encounter 3 primary inspection lanes, and there's an outbound support building. You can kind of see some non-intrusive inspection technology in the renderings. And trucks, as they're traveling into Mexico, have 3 commercial primary vehicle lanes. Again, the outbound support building and commercial inspection with 16 dock bays, which you see on the bottom. So, and finally, the state, to be state-owned and operated, operated by California Highway Patrol, the commercial vehicle inspection facility. And you can see where the trucks pull in for inspection on the lower right. So where we are today and the subject of this item, you may recall we signed our federal project agreement with Customs and Border Protection and General Services Administration in January. Since then, we have brought a contractor on board under the delivery method CMGC, or Construction Manager General Contractor. That was authorized as a delivery method by this board in 2024. And this delivery method brings the contractor on early to work with the designer to find efficiencies during what's called pre-construction services. We will be coming back to request awarding a construction services contract with that contractor in fall, in addition to the execution of the construction services portion of that agreement. If negotiations go well, that's what CMGC enables us to do. And echoing Maria's emphasis on the timely use of our infra grant funds, we do need to obligate $150 million of the infra grant by September 30th of this year, or we lose it. In order to get those funds obligated, we are looking to release a solicitation for the CBP technology. That's the subject of today's request. That will use, if approved, $36 million of that infra grant, and the remaining 114 will be reserved to come back for that first work package of the CMGC contractor. Now, the technology package is not 36 million, it's 56 million. So we're bringing in those matching state dollars, the TCEP grant, to fill the package. But the infra is what we're really up against the deadline. So upon approval by the board of this solicitation, and then we'll be going to the California Transportation Commission to actually request for that obligation, we'll look to dedicate the 36 million to the technology package and 114 to the first work package, as I just mentioned. So what is this technology package? We call it, CBP, this is known as non-intrusive inspection, or NII. NII will increase security and improve the efficiency of processing of vehicles and cargo at the port of entry. It will be procured by SANDAG and given to CBP to operate and maintain. We're not in the business of operating this equipment. But we are in the business of procuring it for this project. So in order to get smarter, we did send out a request for information to industry to learn about best practices and gain insights into the CBP procurement process. It's a little bit different than what we're used to. We conducted outreach with vendor teams to learn about the technology design. And we will be seeking, upon approval from this board, to release a solicitation, a vendor to furnish, install, integrate, and provide warranty services for 1 year for the NII technology, at which point it will be turned over to CBP. The procurement, it will be an RFP. We propose to release the RFP based on best value, which looks at the experience, the approach to the work, the team, as well as the cost. And on the right-hand side, this photo's from CBP's website, and it shows some scanning technology for personal vehicles. So before you today, we're requesting to release this RFP. We would be back upon selection of a vendor to request to award the actual contract in fall. We hope to release the solicitation in summer. There you see the breakdown of $36 million of infra, 20 million of TCEP. And again, the timing is critical, not only because of the grant deadline, but they're long lead items, meaning they're specialized, they take a long time to obtain. And as we approach 95% design, we want to ensure that the connections and the supporting infrastructure is sort of a plug and play situation, but it has to be built to the vendor's unique specifications. We won't know those until we have a selected vendor on board, and that will enable us to move forward with the design of those components. NII is one of the advanced technologies envisioned for this project. We anticipate and like to claim that we're creating one of the most technologically advanced land ports in the United States. And this is one component of that. That concludes the presentation. We're here to answer any questions you might have.
I just wanted to, Andrea and Maria did a great job presenting, but just to put it in perspective, they both have security clearances because this type of equipment is not for anybody to really know the details of. So that's why the long lead procurement period, there's only very few vendors that will be able to compete for this because, again, they need to be certified by the federal government, by Homeland Security. And that's why the team, they need to bring in this equipment, one for the timing, the long lead, the security, but it's so sophisticated that this equipment drives the design of the port of entry, the locations, the spaces. So that's why the team is here, and all the other reasons they brought it up. But it's not just going and buying off the shelf and X-ray equipment. It's very, very sophisticated. They have to go through security clearances. They have non-disclosure agreements of certain things that they can't even talk to me about. So I just wanted to put that in perspective.
Thank you for that insight, and thank you so much for that great presentation. I really appreciate the history in the staff report and you going over that. It's not just for some of the members here who are new, but for those of us who've been here a long time, it's a great reminder of how far we've come, but also setting the table for the entire context and how important this port of entry is to our entire region. So I appreciate it very much. And with that, we'll move on to public comments.
We have 4 in person and we have 4 online. The first is Truth, followed by Cesar Javier. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Cesar Javier. Truth, followed by Cesar Javier.
What if there's so many polluting commercial trucks, a 20 to 30-minute wait can't be insured? What if Trump shuts this crossing down to force Mexico to stop their sewage? Because it's not true that this project started in 2003. I recently read here the Otay Mesa East specific plan conspiracy by the county and others, including SANDAG, from 1994. OME allegedly will be 95% finished by fall. We've been hearing this for years now. SANDAG's about as fast as Mexico is on their SAB plant. SANDAG has studied the impacts of border delays, but never the impacts of increased development, not even when updated in 2020 when IB's beaches were permanently closed. So above and beyond environmental mitigation for fairy shrimp, not for humans, that was absolutely outrageous to hear. It mentions America and Mexico losing money. Who cares how much money Mexico lost? Carolina, how much money have IB or Coronado lost out on? That's in our country affected by Mexico. But you guys want to fund their environmental terrorism by giving 50% of the toll money for doing absolutely nothing. So I have to humanize this project for you guys, because it's not just a trade money-making venture. There will be real negative health impacts via truck traffic, more development in Tijuana, and subsequently more sewage without any guarantee of permanent solution to Mexico's outright corruption and lies. Many of you don't realize that in November of last year, I had a severe asthmatic cough. I don't have asthma. The last summer and the toxic air that comes from Mexico's pollution was horrible, and nobody here can even imagine that except for Jack and Matthew, of course. I intentionally stayed away from IB for about a month in order to recover my health. Do you know how many people can't stay away? Over 26,000 people in this county. That's who I think of when any of you dare to brag about the money in this project. People living in Mexico who don't even contribute property taxes to us are not more important than the Americans living right in Imperial Beach. Is this the only way that's safe to breathe in IB? Like this? Is that how you have to be? To quote Brian Bilbray, sorry I don't have an opinion on this topic of tech, but I feel some kind of way about it. Thank you.
Next is Cesar Javier, followed by allegedly Audra.
Cesar Javier, your handyman. engineering, technology, infrastructure are empirical, no questions. They're very accurate. But if this is treated politically, look around. The border is fronted by core city San Diego, right, Councilor Lacaba? Look at Councilor Rivera. This is what he envisions of San Diego. Like in heaven, walking with his family, with a kid, with a wife. That's a vision. We wish, we dream for that. I offer you a solution from Handyman. Security is not only via technology, via human intelligence, if I may say that. Those who are with the national security or CIA, human. Therefore, we need to devolve this portion of San Diego core city, which Councilor Lacaba wished to be a thinker of or legislative of the core city of San Diego, because it means money. District 8, which is unusually detached physically, where is the mass? Come on, let's be thinker like a handyman. Devolve it. Have that political unit stand with sovereignty to provide security, to provide what you call wealth getting, wealth using, like what this Councilor Rivera is thinking.
Thank you, Cesar. Next is allegedly Audra, followed by Alan C.
So I want to know when you guys are going to bring something forward like Prop 65, when you're going to inform people of the radiation risks that are coming from all of this infrastructure, like the EV infrastructure, like these non-invasive technology, non-intrusive inspection technology. It emits radiation. Even CBP has acknowledged that, and they're doing their best to minimize the risks. But when you guys care so much about the planet, you should be thinking about how much this contributes to greenhouse gas emissions and climate change, and can affect the environment by disrupting the balance of the ecosystem. There's declines in biodiversity, reduction in pollinator populations. It affects plants reproduction. It affects the human body and animals. It can cause cancer, even death, memory loss, hair loss, flu-like symptoms, vomiting. It doesn't stay where it is put, and no matter what you guys do, I mean, if you go and get an X-ray, the technician walks out of the room and they put a metal or a weighted lead vest on you. So it's like, what are you going to do to make sure that these employees and the people that have to go through this technology don't have radiation coming in at massive amounts? Like, those are huge machines. You guys refuse to acknowledge all of this infrastructure that you're putting in that actually has effects on the human body and the environment, like I just stated, but you don't care. I mean, all you care about is getting your money to put this kind of stuff in, but when it comes to people suffering or the this affecting them, you don't care. And it's very weird, because you guys all were told about an invisible killer dot called COVID, right? And then you forced everybody to get and inject themselves with a bioweapon. So you can't be trusted to be making sound mind decisions that are in the best interest of the people when you're literally putting them at risk of death constantly on a regular basis. And you don't care about children being raped. It's wow.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Next is Alan C., followed by Paul the Bold online.
Point of order before you start my time. We're missing slides on her. Can we send a printout to the public of all the correct slides? There's actually slides missing on this printout. Also public record. Hey, thank you. If you don't mind, you start my time. Okay. We look at the Zotai crossing. We have numerous pages showing the whole history of the billions spent on this Otai Mesa crossing. And you go to July 12th. Yes, it's hidden in there in the one of the sections. In there, finally, we had a unanimous vote to actually study the sewage crisis. And here's what they said. Temporary working group, not including Mexico, to address the environmental concerns. Why is it temporary? The sewage has been going on since the last century. Jack, your own mayor actually voted against your council to not tell Mexico to stop the sewage. Millions, thousands and thousands of residents are not on the sewage line. And oh, get a clue. The USA plan on our side does not treat the river. It treats a sewer line from the Mexico hotels. So no matter how much billions you put on our side, you're not treating the river. So why don't you force Mexico to take care of their own people? Thousands of residents have nothing. No sewer line, no utilities, they burn tires at night. Look into it and force Mexico, because right now you're looking at how much? We're looking at $60 billion a year of commerce. Shut the border of commerce every time our beaches are shut down. Watch how fast Mexico will get their own residents on the sewage line. And old Jack, by the way, your stupid mayor actually said, oh, we have a hydrogen sulfide problem. Trying to make it like some big chemical. Look it up. Hydrogen sulfide is sewage, human feces, because the people down there have nothing. You want to help Mexico help their own people? Tell them you don't get to put your bike coalition, by the way, 1 million trucks across. How many of the 1 million trucks set up the 10,000 tables for your stupid bike-a-thon? There goes your climate footprint. Doesn't work, does it? So again, let's force Mexico to address this. Use the OTAI agreement. Make that part of the agreement. Mexico, stop the sewage, or you can't have your trucks across our beautiful border OTAI crossing. I yield back.
Thank you. Next is Paul the Bold online, followed by Blair Beekman.
Paul the Bold, when I hear the words non-intrusive inspection technology, I think X-ray scanners and electronic readers, both of which are shielded against fairly easily, mostly lead and aluminum foil. So easy to hide stuff, there's nothing like manual inspection. I also think how many people and drugs were in fact found by manual inspection, yet the documentation provides no hint of when manual inspection might actually be used. So we're paying $56 million for something that won't always work, but no mention of an alternate inspection method. I am wondering what plans exist for an alternate method or two. So, what is in fact the plan of the technology fields? More technology? It's really amazing how many people think that more and more technology will solve things that people don't all understand, and that's why new tech breaks a lot. What happened to improving the old stuff instead of buying a whole new system? By the way, the acronym NII reminds me of Knights is a knee in the old Monty Python skit. Also interesting that the timeline in the intro letter lists the completion of the SR-11, but not its partial destruction. And from the talk, we did a contract for this in 2019 for 100 million rather than 150 million, which it would be today. Well, this sounds like the other 50 million. Get a grip. Thanks.
Thank you. Next is Paul the Bold, followed by Consuelo.
Hi, this is Blair Beekman. I think Consuelo will follow after me. Paul the Bold just spoke. Blair Beekman here. Thank you for this item. I guess a simple beginning point is that people on the Mexico side of Otay Mesa, they don't call it Otay Mesa. They call it something else. Otay, I don't know, I can't remember what, but they don't say Otay Mesa. Otay Mesa, the Mesa side, I think is more on the US side. With that said, thank you for the words of everyone, including Mario, who I've tried to make it a really important point. I hope you've remembered that I'm wondering how, I'm taking the approach that if we can talk with Mexico about the future of our technology at the border, share technology ideas, work towards best practices, that sets up a dialogue, that sets up relationship, how to more easily talk about other border issues, I think. Because I think we can be in some good agreements on how to address technology at the border on both sides. Interestingly, from Paula Bull's words, it reminded me that, Santa Clara County, a few years ago, they had a very difficult time to explain some of their technology use within their jail systems, basically for the same reason as the federal agencies. And, I respect the severity of Mario's words in that there is some things that cannot be talked about really very publicly. But I think there is an important goal that we work on accountability all the way around at all levels of government. The federal government is not excluded from the participatory process, and it's learning that process together. Maybe we can do something at this time and work on a cooperative process and not just secretive, only for your eyes only kind of stuff. So good luck how we really address openness
Thank
and
you, Blair.
accountability.
Your time has expired. Next is Consuelo, followed by our last public comment of Marco Espinoza.
Okay, Consuelo here. So really, Mario, sophisticated technology, like the advanced technology of the Transnet machines that stopped working, silly government. So why build? That was the question asked. I can better answer that. Well, first, to be consistent on being wasteful with the people's money to accommodate an agenda that doesn't actually serve the people. By the way, who did that study? Who funded it? Listen, like with those scripted callers earlier, if you repeat a lie enough times, you get the people to comply and actually believe the lies. And then you continue with the lies, you start believing them yourself. Got it? And oh yeah, yippee to so all those decorations and pretty plants. It's kind of like lube to ease just how screwed the people are continuing to be. But yeah, we're going to have some nice plants and murals, right? Screw solving the TJ River pollution issue. Screw the residents of Imperial Beach and all of the South County affected. We'll have pretty plants and murals at the site to make it all palatable to the masses, the clueless masses not paying attention. 36 million here, 20 million there. But again, yippee! It will be technologically advanced to serve a population to better assist in their already quick decline. The silly species actually believed it has evolved. It's beyond obvious how devolved it's become. Even the cockroaches are laughing at us now. Anywho, that's all I got.
Thank you. Your last public comment is Marco Espinoza.
Hello, good morning, Marco Espinoza. I am very much looking forward to this new Ocho Mesa East entrance, Garita. And of course, I understand it's going to be commercial, so as a civilian, I'll never go through it. I'll never see it other than these photos or on the news. But no, very much looking forward to what it does to our region, local economy on both sides. Absolutely. I do go across the border, and I know what the other side looks like. Del otro lado, and no, granted I don't know on the construction area in Otay for this side, but on the current crossing, I am familiar with that. So I just know it's going to be a big benefit. At least I perceive it to be. So I'm very much looking. It looks great. Wonderful design. Glad to see there was a lot of collaboration about it. So I think. Sorry. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That concludes our public comment on this item, Chair.
Thank you so much. Now on to board comments. I have Second Vice Chair Minto.
Good morning. Thanks for the report. I had just a couple of questions here, and it was related to slide number 6, when you were talking about the GDP and those types of issues. So I guess, do we have any idea how far the trucks coming through, or the cargo coming through, I guess is a better way of saying it, through the borders, reaches through America? Have we ever done any like endpoint type of study? And if we have, by opening this new port of entry, can we, is there a model that tells us exactly what the impact will be to our local routes, highway and interstate, for instance, I-8, SR-52, I-15, SR-67? And the reason why I asked that is because we've talked about this for a long time, and it first came up several years ago about how trucks will come up the 125 and then they will break off and go either east or west, I-8. And then they get to the 52, they will go either east or west, whether it's to the 15 or to the 67. And what exactly is that going to do to the congestion on the freeways? So is there modeling that shows that? And if so, what needs to be done to mitigate additional congestion on the freeways?
Okay, I'll do my best to answer all of the parts. Most of the trucks that come across, it's more like a drayage operation. And most of the trucks, I mean, I need to look up the exact number, but it's between 70 and 80% of the trucks come still within 20 miles of the port of entry and they go back. So there are other trucks from the United States that come and pick up the cargo and then distribute it. What we have modeled is we are taking away the demand from the other ports and shifting it to the new port of entry. We have not modeled what you would call induced demand. Our model did not do that. And it's because when you do a traffic and revenue model, you don't account for any induced demand that might happen or not happen. The traffic and revenue model is used to be conservative so that we can then sell the bonds and not count on money that maybe doesn't realize. So the answer, no, we haven't calculated if new trucks come in.
Let me correct that, Maria. Maria's talking about the traffic and revenue model that she worked on for the bond issuance.
You need to get a little closer to the microphone, please.
Maria's talking about the traffic and revenue model that was done for the bond issuance. There was a traffic study done for the traffic increases in the environmental document. And that did consider the disbursement, and it gets included in the regional plan also. There's always been this question about which routes would the trucks take? There was studies done if they were gonna take the 125 or not, and then take like the 52 because of the grades. We have seen some of the traffic and revenues, the traffic study in the environmental document did not consider or did not see that. It was more of a demand on 805 and 5, specifically 805. The majority of the traffic that goes to the distribution centers in the Inland Empire. Once the drayage has been come in, the drayage comes into Otay basically. Yes, some of them will go to the port of LA and Long Beach. And normally, if you go to Otay, the movement that you start seeing after the drayage movement, the dispersing is at night when some trucks start going. And in the mornings, you do see a heavy amount of trucks on the 805. We probably are going to capture more of this information in the regional plans as we go, but the environmental study did do a traffic analysis with traffic increases. The traffic and revenue study that Maria is talking is totally different, which is where they do not let us look at the induced demands because they don't want us to be very optimistic on the capacity of paying a loan. So it's a conservative loan. So I want to make that point very clear.
Thank you for clarifying that. We did look at the existing trucks that come from Otay Mesa, what percentage goes on 125, and it was somewhere in between 8 and 11% of the Otay Mesa port of entry trucks going through 125. And we assessed that it was because of the grade most of the trucks choose to take the other routes.
Also, Mayor, the patterns keep changing, right? Right now, in the port of San Diego, can correct me, I don't know if they're here, that I think one out of 10 vehicles that come into the United States imported are handled in San Diego. And part of those come through the National City Marine Terminal, but other parts are crossing from the Toyota Tacoma factory. They all get consolidated at the National City Marine Terminal, loaded on BNSF trains, and then they take the Lawson corridor at night to get distributed further north. That is not the only amount of goods that are crossing, right? But that gives you an example of how sometimes the distribution are changing. I don't know if Naomi, you want to talk about the economics part of it that the mayor is asking? Come on over if you wish.
Well, as she's coming up, what I wanted to point out also is because I wanted to talk about the rail, so I'm glad you mentioned that. And when you mentioned about, the majority of the traffic stays within 20 miles of the border, is it because they're going to our rail to get on rail, and how does that affect us? And what mechanism did we use to determine that majority of the vehicles only stay within 20 miles and then go back south of the border? Because I think having those vehicles, I mean, we're talking, yeah, that was a big number that I saw earlier. And if they're just staying in within 20 miles of the border, that's an extreme environmental, issue. And what's being done maybe to mitigate that?
No, I hear you. First of all, no, probably it's not the majority going on train. It's a good chunk of it, but it's not the majority. Two, trucks based on federal guidelines and regulations cannot go beyond, I think it's 20 miles or 50 miles, and somebody will know more better. Correct me, they're limited, the ones crossing. So that's why they call them drayage, similar to the Port of Long Beach. That's why we have such large warehouses in Alta Mesa, the customs warehouses, in custom broker warehouses, and then they consolidate cargo and they go on or get picked up by the ultimate client. It could go all the way to Michigan. It could go to the distribution centers in Riverside. Very complex, as well as some empty containers end up going back to the Port of Long Beach to get shipped as empties.
Okay, Mario, let me stop you for just a second, because this just is a history lesson and a geography lesson and whatnot. But I think it's very important because a lot of people don't understand it. And, I've been around a long time, and like Lisa said, we've heard a lot of this, and it's good to be for us to catch back up. Maybe what we can do is when we talk about this again, actually have a prepared lesson for us, because all the staff, you read between the lines very well. I think I've talked about this before. And so you know how all this works and things of that nature. But I think for us to make a better informed decision, I think we need to have a better understanding exactly where things go, how long they're there, and what the actual impacts are. Because it's easy to just, when you look at it on its face, it sounds like a great plan, but maybe there's somebody here that has another idea they can throw into the mix to help reduce the environmental impacts. So I think I've heard enough on this one. I'll let some other people ask questions. Thanks for coming back up, Naomi. I'm sorry.
All right. Let's go to Councilmember Fisher.
Thank you, Chair. I'll skip kind of my normal comments with the time ACs. I think the truth and Alan covered those. I do have a couple of questions about the technology that we're going to be funding. Was that requested by the CBP?
So both CBP and the Mexican partner on the other side are implementing non-intrusive inspection technology all along the border. So it's not unique to this port of entry. We're doing it with the latest technology, so we are a little bit more advanced with what they're working on right now. But I believe it's a mandate. Do you have the number?
There's actually a non-intrusive inspection technology act that was passed, which requires CBP to increase their use of the NII by 2024.
Okay. And then since we are procuring the equipment, will we have any liability for its use or misuse? Because it was mentioned by one of the public speakers, what does it really scan for? And is there going to be lawsuits? And I know we can't prevent any of that, but what's SANDAG's liability?
So we will have the attorneys here, but we will be gifting everything upon testing before we open the facility. So the liability will be with the federal government. And when I say everything is, we're gifting the port of entry, all the buildings, all the equipment and furnishing, everything to the federal government.
So with those agreements and the turnover, that means that SANDAG will not have any liability for anything that arises in the future?
So we are working on that agreement. It's called the Donation Acceptance Agreement, the DAA. We're very close to signing that agreement, and it will come to, it has come to the board. The details were part of the federal project agreement that we discussed, and now we're finalizing the very little details. I don't know if Betsy Blake is here and she can provide more information on the liability, but our understanding is once it's gifted, it's theirs, and they take all the liability of any operations within the port of entry.
Okay, that's good to hear, and I hope that we get that solidified in writing. Now, I don't know how much you know about the technology. Is the demand for it? Does it help with efficiency of getting cars through? Is it a higher look at that? Does it save on staff time? What's kind of the benefit other than the new toy?
There is a security benefit, right? Because they're able to see imagery of anything coming through the vehicles. And then there is aspect of allowing for faster inspection, because now they don't have to do manual inspections. They can just process the images with artificial intelligence, with officers. So it requires less staffing for CBP, and it's much faster. So it does result in throughput and less wait times.
And so every car that goes through the crossing will have to go through that, or is it only that's secondary?
I am not sure how they intend to use. I don't know if it's a percentage. Right now, we're acquiring for 100% of the vehicles to come through. I don't know if from day one it will be 100% inspection.
Right, because I know with the possibility of the expansion of the amount of lanes, I imagine the equipment would probably need to be increased and upgraded as well. So I just wonder, is that something in the future we're going to be responsible for providing?
Our responsibility is for the initial build out, which is only 7 passenger lanes and 5 cargo lanes. Anything after that has not been negotiated or agreed upon.
But in the future, the funding is going to be provided for upgrades to the building, right? Am I correct on that?
We are helping operate and maintain what we're gifting day one.
Okay.
So if they add more technology, they will have to also double the size of the facility, and we have not discussed that expansion project.
Okay, that's good. I mean, if this technology really works well, it'd be nice for them to put it down into the San Ysidro or other areas to move cars through there. So thanks for the report. And I just want to say thanks to you, Maria, for providing the extra information about the road that was dug up and jackhammered and where that stood, because you can only imagine, I got a few, inquiries on that, and I appreciate that a great deal. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Chavez.
Thank you. As I was looking at those numbers, and also when we were talking about, can you go back to the slide where we're talking about the cargo inspection platforms that we have for trailers? So, I just want to talk about this a little bit. I think this is crucial because I don't know if many of you remember, but not less than a decade ago, we had issues with these inspections and they were holding cargo for up to 2 or 3 days in the trailers and they were rotting the produce. And that, I mean, being mindful that this is the location we're at. This region houses the largest border, not the largest, the most transited border in the world that produces over $80 billion in international trade. We are a region that produces to the federal and state government. And being mindful of that, we have to move forward with progress. And this is progress, right? We have to be mindful that we're not just talking about the 70,000 people crossing the border in the San Isidro and Otay port of entry, but we also have CBX that reports around 11,000 daily, right? And when CBX came to be a few decades ago, I remember I was 20 years old when I saw that presentation for the first time. And for those of you that are not familiar with CBX, it's a cross-border express that's built to connect with the Tijuana airport. And we ultimately saw the value of taking out thousands of cars a month from this waiting area at the border crossing that was contributing to tons and tons of contamination. So there's a value of creating holistic solutions, regional solutions. We're not gonna, I don't see trade ending anytime soon, especially an $80 billion profit business production. And the manufacturers in Baja many of them are U.S. Companies that are in Baja. And I can attest to that because that's been my bread and butter for almost 22 years. And you know, I always say that anything that helps border crossings, and we also have to factor another analysis in, is that, you know, we don't have enough affordable housing. And when we talk about border crossers, sometimes we're talking about U.S. citizens, retired community, students that can't afford to live here and decide to go elsewhere to find affordable housing. And they do this commute. So in my perspective, representing the city of Chula Vista, what I would add is when we talk about the 125, of course, I want it to be completely free because it's paid and paid and paid over again. And everyone knows my sentiment here, but I would like to tax maybe cargo if they're going to be utilizing this road. Maybe that's something we can think about. Let's look at holistic solutions. I'm going to be supporting every time this comes to us. I know that Customs and Border Protection has, you know, brought forward many questions, and they have been solved over the years. I know it was a federal process that was taking quite a bit to get where we are. And I want to thank everyone. I want to thank staff. I want to thank Mario for this important presentation, but let's be mindful that we are here. This is the region we house. We have to find solutions moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Councilmember Shin.
Thank you so much, Chair. Thanks for the report. It was kind of fascinating seeing the one slide that showed, or one of the attachments that showed how long this has been going on for. So it started in 2006, and I wanted to see what happened in 2006. And that's when we had to start removing our shoes for the airport. So that's come a long way, and here we are now. So, and that's something from the retreat that it's connecting with me now. Okay, so I may never see the projects that we're going to approve. And some of you have been here this long, so yeah, it's good to see that you guys can see this moving forward. On what Mayor Minto was stating, and you were stating, Maria, was that 8 to 10% of our cargo that's going back and forth is from Otay. Is that, can you clarify that a little bit more?
I'm sorry. The 8 to 10% is the trucks that come through Otay port of entry, the existing one. Only 8 or 10% go up to SR 125.
Okay. And
but
then
about 70 to 80% of the trucks just stay in the region, in the Otay region, because they drop off the cargo at the warehouses. Sometimes they pick up materials so they don't waste the trip and take it down. And it's a continuous circle of operations and manufacturing.
Do we know the ratio difference currently from the Otay crossing as opposed to the San Isidro one?
San Isidro does not have cargo,
They don't push cargo, just Otay.
just Otay.
Okay, so we're
Yes.
pushing, okay, so now it seems like there's greater importance then to make sure that we can have some more efficiencies here. I thought I was going to compare one to the other. I feel like kind of stating from what others have said that, you know, economic efficiency needs to be of high mind. I always preach it. But here also security is such an important aspect of it as well. Seems like we're able to solve two things in one with this project. Is that what we're kind of seeing?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
My justification supporting this seems to be primarily about the economic side. And we'll talk about the security part in a second, but some of the things I'd like to also connect is, like, as I'm reading reports throughout this, what we also need to also say is it looks like we have over $30 billion worth of goods that we're exporting out to Mexico from the state of California, as according to Cal Chamber's report. And that represents 18.8% of all California exports. So that's a big number that we need to factor in. We're talking about trying, you know, there's a message right now saying, hey, let's manufacture and export out. And we're doing that through that port. And so if we're able to make this more efficient, it seems like that's a great solution to increase that number even more so. So that's one part that I'm supporting. I do want to push back, and I apologize, but I do want to push back on taxing cargo. I think that if we increase the volume of GDP that's coming in and out through the ports, that sales tax will then represent our opportunity to gain more revenue. So I've always been a person who says I'm trying not to reduce or increase rate as much as I want to increase volume, but I do think that there's like something beautiful about the fact that if we get this thing going, that we'll probably see it pay dividends off of it. And then at the worst case, and then we start considering rate. Second thoughts I have are in regards to our security. When we're talking about, it's probably more towards you, Mario, you were hinting in regards to that we're gonna have limited amount of contractors because of the specialty in nature.
Suppliers of the NII. There are only a few in the United States who produce this equipment and are certified by the Homeland Security.
All the way down to like sole source contracting.
No, I don't think so. I think we did the request for information, and there were several vendors who approached us that are certified. So I don't think it's going to go to a sole source.
Okay, gotcha. I was a defense contractor in the past, and I just recall like sometimes we had to be sole source primarily because of patent pending information. We're the only ones who can do it. The solution was requested by us, and we were able to solve that. And so sometimes I understand why we do and we don't. So I just wanted to kind of throw some clarity there. This technology that we're doing somewhat is similar to that, like when we're going through the airports and we can also see transparently what's going on inside the cargo. Is that what I'm saying? So that's probably technology we're talking about. We just can't go into detail with it because of the nature of the security aspect, right?
That is correct.
Okay. And then outside of that, I just think, so if this is going to be this is going to be essentially like a proof of concept. If this works well, we're going to see this like kind of rake across the borders.
They're starting to do it at other ports of entry. We went and visited one in Brownsville, Texas. They were doing it in a smaller fashion, just 1 or 2 lanes. I believe this would be the only one that has all lanes in all directions.
Gotcha. And they noticed a significant improvement in efficiency?
Improvement in efficiencies, in catching contraband, money, weapons.
Do they have data?
They cannot share the data.
Oh, gotcha. Never mind then. I'll shut up with them.
Thank you. Councilmember Molina.
Oh, thank you. My questions were answered. I was interested in the donation acceptance agreement, and Mr. Fisher asked those questions. Thank you for that. And I absolutely agree with Mayor Minto about the need for a little bit of history, especially around the impact, the environmental impact that the communities are going to undergo. The South Bay it has continually been impacted for decades based on decisions that have been made that have caused a lot of environmental concerns in the South Bay. So I am interested in receiving information concerns regarding those concerns. Thank you.
I just
You,
want
Mayor
to highlight
Gasteland.
one thing, but we will come back with a presentation with all of that information. But by adding a port of entry and by making it more efficient, we'll be able to reduce wait times, so the idling vehicles on the other side, by about 40% during peak times. So those benefits will be seen at both San Isidro and Otay.
Thank you. Yes, that is actually something that I was aware of. Is one of the reasons, there is a lot of concern right now is on the 805, all of that standing traffic, day in and day out, rush hour in the morning and in the afternoon. Knowing that there will be another route, this Otay Mesa East entry is going to alleviate a lot of that congestion, and then thereby, hopefully, the air quality as well. So I do look forward to receiving those details. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor Gasteland.
Yes, thank you. So I've been a strong supporter of this project ever since joining the SANDAG board. I see it as a real game changer for how freight moves around in our region. In today's presentation, I took note of the private vehicle part of this for the first time. I hadn't paid attention to that before. Could you clarify how will the private vehicle crossing capacity compare here for the Otay Mesa East with other places along our border in the San Diego region that private vehicles can go across?
The passenger vehicles, private owned vehicles, we anticipate capturing about 12,000 cars of the 80,000 total cars that come across. So we build the facility to that size. And we need to remind everybody, this is going to be a toll facility, and we'll manage the demand by increasing the tolls. So we are keeping that demand to the number we can handle.
Okay, and there will be the possibility of increasing the passenger. I saw there were 3 crossings for passengers going from south to north. How many from north to south?
So San Isidro, Otay, and Otay Mesa East will all have they all have passenger vehicles.
I should have
right?
said lanes, not
Oh,
crossings.
lanes, okay. So there are 5 passenger lanes going northbound, but these lanes will be more efficient than the regular passenger lanes on the other ports of entry. Eventually, if we want to expand the project, we'll be able to get to 25 passenger lanes. And for cargo, we can go from 7 to 20 cargo lanes in the northbound direction, which most of the traffic and idling vehicles is northbound. The process to inspect vehicles southbound is much faster.
Yeah. And will there be pedestrian crossing? Will people be able to walk across at Otay Mesa East?
Not on day one, but we do have a master plan that includes a pedestrian facility and a transit station.
Okay, great. And then we've talked in the past about some of the revenues in the long run. There's legislative changes that need to happen, but using some of the revenues for the Tijuana River cleanup and increasing infrastructure capacity. What's the status of that?
Right now, the current legislation only allows to use the tolls within the corridor. I don't know if somebody else can give updates.
The SB 10, I think, was put on suspense. But there's also other legislators who have been looking into how to propose legislation to expand the let's call it the lockbox that the current legislation has to further invest within the border region for infrastructure. That's as much as where we have information.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Sanchez is our last speaker, and then I'm looking for a motion as well, which would be to approve request to procure. Moved by Chavez, second by Sanchez.
Thank you. No, I just wondered what are the talks about requiring electric cars, electric trucks at some point, really ensuring that we have zero impacts with respect to cargo moving across. to the United States and especially in California.
That's a fluid discussion right now.
Right.
There was prior regulations by CARB on
Yes.
trucks that would go to seaports, and that directly was linked to the border crossing. But we have to see and track where the federal administration is on the waivers and several things that.
Well,
were
this is a
given
long
to-
process, but that is a goal, correct? To lower emissions coming into the country, coming into California and to the South Bay communities by ensuring that we capture as much as possible.
Yeah, for sure. I think the goal is to reduce emission across the board in the
Right.
county. That's why we have that 19% target for the RTP, for definitely. So it's not just for cross-border, but across the county, including cross-border.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but that's, we're mindful of that. Those are, see, I didn't hear anything about that. But, you know, even though we don't have anything hard right now, I think it's something that we need to continue to ask about, pursue, say, we need to make sure that this is an ultimate goal. Thank you. And the motion's been made and seconded.
Very good. With that, I'll call for the vote. Very good. That passes unanimously with those present. So now we're going to move on to the annual financial report, and Kimberly and Jennifer will be providing that report.
Good morning. My name is Kimberly Trammell, and I am SANDAG's Director of Accounting and Finance. And today we are bringing the annual audited financial statements for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2024 to the board. An audit of SANDAG's financial statements has been completed by the independent certified public accounting firm of Davis Farr LLP. The results of the June 30, 2024 financial audit were presented to the audit committee yesterday on May 22nd. For the second year, the audit has resulted in a qualified opinion due to the SR 125 toll revenues. And for this reason, we have also decided to bring it to the board for discussion and review. We'll start off the presentation with Jennifer discussing the audit and the audit results, and then I'll follow up with some discussion about our planned response to the audit results.
Good morning, Chair and board members. My name is Jennifer Farr. I am the audit partner on your engagement for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2024 audit, and I have a short presentation to facilitate communicating the results of the audit for you. Our firm was engaged to perform both the financial statement and compliance audits for SANDAG for this year. And this is our second year of providing these services. Today, I'll be going over primarily the results of the financial statement audits and also the results of the single audit on federal awards. Starting first with the timing of the audit process, we started planning for the June 30, 2024 audit in July of 24, which is kind of a normal timeline in terms of our planning and our interim audit procedures. And then we were originally scheduled to start the final audit on November 4th with the intention of completing the audit by December 31st. However, the SANDAG finance team reached out to us to ask for an extension and a delay in starting the audit, as they needed additional time to close the books and double check the numbers. And that was primarily due to the implementation of the new ERP system and the changes in processes, which made it a longer process for them to be able to close the books. So ultimately, we started the audit in January of 2025, and we were able to finalize the audit by the March 31st deadline, which is when your single audit is required to be completed. I did want to take a minute to thank the SANDAG finance staff for their efforts during the audit. They took a lot of extra time to be able to feel very comfortable that the numbers did not contain any material misstatements. They were very transparent with me during the audit, and we worked well to resolve any issues that came up during the audit process. So they definitely took the time that was needed to make sure that these numbers we're presenting to you are correct. At the beginning of the audit, we're required to identify audit risk areas of focus, and we communicated our audit plan to the audit committee in October of 2024. We identified 4 areas of audit risk where we focused additional attention. That included looking at the new ERP system and additional testing required there, continuing to test toll road revenues and customer balances, testing the 2023 Series A bonds and related debt refinancings, and testing federal grants for compliance with the federal standards. We also performed an unpredictability test this year, which is something that has to change and be different each year. This year, we sent confirmations directly to other government agencies, asking them to confirm the receivable balances of what those agencies owed SANDAG. So we sent those to Caltrans, NCTD, the City of San Diego, and the State of California as they had material receivables and were able to validate that those receivable balances are correct. I did want to take a minute to discuss the qualification of the audit opinion as previously noted. If you recall last year, the June 30, 2023 audit had a qualified audit opinion related to the toll road revenues. And we wanted to acknowledge the additional efforts that SANDAG was able to make this year to monitor and correct any deficiencies that were arising from the back office system. They also had an effort to write off delinquent customer balances and essentially clean up some of those customer balances and receivable balances. So although efforts were made, we still felt like we couldn't get comfortable with the cutoff really at the beginning of the year to determine whether or not the revenues in fiscal year 23-24 were correct. The good news is that we do feel very comfortable that there are no material misstatements with the balance sheet items at June 30, 2024. So we feel comfortable that the customer account balances and the receivables are fairly stated. And that puts us in a good position to be able to possibly remove the qualified opinion next year because we have a good cutoff and a good starting point for fiscal year 24-25. And my last slide is to go over our internal control recommendations and findings for the audit. We did see some significant improvement in the number of auditor detected journal entries this year. However, we still had 3 material auditor detected journal entries. One of them was related to a complex debt issuance and kind of a very technical matter that we were able to find the error and adjust the entry so the numbers are correct for related to that debt issuance. And then we also detected 2 material errors in the capital asset record keeping and were able to correct those amounts as well. For the single audit, we do have a compliance finding with the passenger rail grant, and that is related to quarterly reportings, and the finding is that they were not filed on time. And so that is included in our single audit report as well. And then we also had 2 best practice recommendations. So these are not significant deficiencies or material weaknesses, but we wanted to give you feedback about other things that we saw during the audit and areas of improvement. This includes the first one being recommended changes to the chart of accounts for the internal accounting to do a better job of matching to the external financial reporting. Ideally, we want to see kind of a one-to-one ability to line up with the internal records and the external financial reporting. And secondly is a recommendation from our certified information systems auditor related to your IT team's review of service level agreements for third-party vendors. Although they are doing some reviews of the service level agreements, that review could be extended to include all significant third-party vendors. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Trammell to talk about SANDAG's efforts related to our recommendations, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions you have after her part of the presentation.
Thank you. So as we go through these audits and as things start to come up, our first thought is, what can we do better? How do we address this? And so I just wanted to lay some context, first of all, on the timeline of this audit and what's been going on in the finance area of SANDAG for the last almost 2 years now. So this audit obviously goes back to July of 23, when the fiscal year that's being audited was started. And a key thing is that in the middle of that fiscal year, we implemented a new ERP system, so a new finance system. That went live in January of 24, which meant going into this audit, we had half of our financials in the old system, half in the new system, and had to actually be very sure that those two systems were in alignment, that everything that had happened in the old one was correctly reflected in the new one. A new financial system also means that you're updating some of your processes, and how you do your supporting schedules may be changing. So you go into the end of the fiscal year with a lot of having to rework things that have been done one way in the past. From the go live, we also had our last year's audits were a little late in being released. So that puts you a little bit behind in your fiscal year as you're trying to get all of your entries in. And coming out of the 23 audit, we recognized the auditor's feedback on needing more reporting and needing better support documentation for our SR 125 revenues, accounts receivable, and customer balances. And with that, we spent a lot of our time working on corrections and being able to create that supporting documentation that was mentioned by the auditor had improved over the prior fiscal year. After the end of the fiscal year, we also ended up having another component of the ERP system that needed to be implemented. So our capital assets module was being worked on in the fall and went live in October. And that's another thing that you're working on instead of putting your staff resources towards our year end. It was something we had to do for our year end, and we used it in our year end, but I think having to do that piece of the system caused some delays. So as was mentioned, the planned start of the audit was November of 24, and we were late. A couple weeks before the deadline, staff gathered and said, here's where we are. We think we need more time because we want to produce good financial numbers and good information for the auditors. We're better off taking the time to improve the quality and delaying the turn-in of the trial balance to the auditors. So we did turn that trial balance in January and complete the reports in late March. A couple of the items that came up during the audit that we're working on addressing. The first one are the adjustments detected during the audit, and I appreciate the auditor's comment that these were improved over the prior year. We are, as I said, looking for ways to address them and make sure things like that don't happen again. One thing we always want to focus on is continued training for our staff. We have some very complex debt and bond transactions, and so that's something we want to keep everyone up to speed on the latest requirements. There are changes to the accounting requirements on a regular basis. So we want to make sure we're training our staff. We have been developing some new tools. Part of that's tied to the ERP system, but also there's ways to make sure that we're looking for things that might be missed or things that need to be addressed before we turn things over to the auditor. So we developed a lot of those new tools this year, and we'll be using them in future years. We feel that we can strengthen our communication across the agency when it comes to our capital assets. The the assets aren't all part of the finance department, we have to reach out to other departments and make sure that we're all working together and accounting for those assets correctly. And then as I mentioned, we have implemented that capital asset module that added a little more time to our process this year, but will be in place for future years to make sure that we're correctly accounting for our capital assets. The last one relating to the late reporting on some of our federal awards. We take this seriously and have started to put in place a couple of ways to improve upon this. We actually had a group that started meeting this week that's cross-agency of the different individuals that are responsible for this quarterly reporting, so that we're making sure that we're all communicating together, we're all aware of who should be working on these quarterly reports, that they have the tools that they need, and that multiple people are looking at the report deadlines and making sure that we're meeting them. We've added calendar reminders not only to those individuals that are responsible for the reporting, but also to our finance team, so that we can make sure that there's multiple people looking at those deadlines. And just overall seriously taking into consideration our federal requirements and having that group be able to work together and utilize each other as resources. On the two best practice recommendations, I told the audit committee yesterday, the first one's near and dear to my heart. This was one of probably the first things I noticed as I came into the agency. And so definitely an area that we are looking to improve. We've already made some changes, but there's a bigger process that we have to look at to make sure that our way of categorizing our financial entries is going to work not only for our financial reporting, but also for our grant reporting and our project reporting and various other areas. So we're coordinating with different areas of SANDAG to make sure any changes that we make will work for everyone. The last recommendation was related to reviewing of IT contracts, and I've been working with our IT department on how to address this, and they actually do have a process in place for reviewing third-party vendors, but it's not comprehensive to all of our major software systems, and so they're working on being able to expand that to our financial systems as well. So with that, we can take any questions or comments.
Thank you very much. We will now move to public comments.
We have 4 in person and 2 online. First is Truth, followed by allegedly Audra.
Oh, I want to say hi to Chamber Pot Lauren first. Why is this audit from December of last year? It's kind of late, right? The quarterly progress reports for federal grant funds have been also late. I'm sure that was acceptable under Biden, hopefully not so much anymore. The 2023 bond issuance, was the refunding loss really 6.4 million? Does that mean something different other than a loss? Fax expenses show that their payroll has gone up by about 7.5 times since 2023. Their operations cost has only gone up by about 1.5 times. That's a little concerning. The $3 million Pershing bikeway is an uphill, dangerous mess, almost as bad as Vista's new deaths waiting to happen bike lane. I'm curious about that $442,000 climate pollution reduction grant from the EPA and how exactly it was spent. I don't see anything from it. There's apparently no proof that SANDAG made even a dime on that 125 toll, and Davis FAR have identified toll revenues as a high-risk audit area, so that's a good hint for SANDAG too.
SANDAG needs to get the hell out of the tolling operations. I don't think it's in our lane.
Oh, that was a good classic clip. Finally got to using it. Davis FAR asked that the audit committee, if they have knowledge of matters that might have a bearing on the audit, including the accounting practices, awareness of pressure upon SANDAG or authority management, and matters that warrant particular attention. Why not ask the BOD, who has direct knowledge or at least direct suspicions? And the California Public Utilities Code, Article 8 monies may be used to provide commuter ferry service on San Diego Bay for the purpose of serving peak period commute trips for pedestrians and bicycles. So I'd like to see ferries, specifically speedboats, included as a flexible fleet service. Circuit has a monopoly on the industry, so why not go with flagship cruises? Let them have a chance. What if it could be extended all the way from Oceanside to Imperial Beach? Wouldn't that be fun? We could even run into some smugglers on occasion. And I actually wore this geeky Bike Anywhere day shirt. You see this horrible thing? I recommend people actually go drive to get one. Thank you.
You Truth. Next is allegedly Audra, followed by Ellen C.
Oh my gosh, you guys, this is just hate listening to this crap because everything that you base all of your decisions off of is propaganda. All of your climate change shenanigans. Everybody needs to be an electric vehicle, and we need to have electric trucks bringing cargo so that we can have no cargo. Like, you don't acknowledge the risks to health or the environment that you're causing by putting in all of these different types of infrastructures. You are trying to get us out of our cars, because why would you spend any money on electric vehicles if the end game is to get us out of our cars? Like, why don't you rip the Band-Aid off and just go ahead and do that instead of placating the people and, you know, playing these games like you're doing something that is actually beneficial for the people? Because none of it is. Like, you're trying to force people into a way of life that doesn't make any sense. I mean, a lot of you even think a boy can be a girl. A lot of you think that pedophilia is good. So it's like, you can't make decisions that are best for the people when you like, it's insanity, the things that you guys like to promote. And it's sad because you use our money to do it, and then you give all these things like, we're going to spend your money wisely. No, you're robbing the people to literally put us into a 15-minute city, not tell people that that's what you're doing. Dude, the insanity, it's insane thing. Like, seriously, you think that if you have electric trucks that you're going to have more cargo? I mean, people can't even get around as far as they can with a gas car, and that is the blood of the earth. Like, the oil is blood of the earth. And you try and control our water by giving us sewer water? Like, literally, it's insanity. This should be called an insane asylum, where you guys are all sitting here pretending to, like, rule the world. It's ridiculous. It is very ridiculous, but you guys love to pat each other on the back, and so good for you guys for destroying San Diego.
Next is Cesar Javier, followed by Paul the Bull online.
Cesar Javier. Thank you, SANDAG. We are hopeful. We are feeling good, better, best, because of your degree of transparency and accountability, trying to improve and improve on your particular auditing, particularly about money. Councilor Lacaba, Councilor Lee, where is Councilor Rivera? And the rest of this, oh, I'm sorry. We must learn from SANDAG's principle. You have 3.5 years, Mr. Lacaba, Mr. Lee, Dr. Campbell, I remember your names, by God. Whitburn, the veterinary of the Balboa Park. Let's audit Balboa Park and recreation. Where is the money? You hired Crow specialists, and they declared they only validate the process. And what's in your propaganda? Oh, excellent auditing. EVA of city says 85 million deficit. 15 days after, the mayor with this mystic smile, oh, we have a deficit of 258 million. Is that auditing concept? Come on, Councilor Lacaba, now the President Council, number 2 man starring, Mr. Lee, land use. You know, everything is about land use. You should learn many things about it. Corruption equals monopoly plus discretionary minus accountability. This is to public servants. Down the janitor. Go to our city hall. All angles smells urine. Environmental impact review, Mr. Lacaba, Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Mr.
Please,
Javier.
audit.
Next
Thank
with
you.
you, Alan C., followed by Paul the Bull online.
Is Mayor Duncan here, Coronado rep? Yeah, I saw Mayor Duncan talking about that beautiful blue bridge, the Coronado Bridge. He's talking about putting safety nets across it. That is wording design, the view, you're going to destroy it. That's for how many people commit suicide last 50 years? That is absolutely ridiculous, waste of our tax money. And speaking of which, one of the attachments, if you refer to your attachment 3, Coronado Toll Bridge report. As I mentioned, I was Navy. I did 20 years and I paid many a 60-cent toll going across it. Eventually went $1.21 way. It's been decades since there's been toll. Why are we paying these auditors to do an annual toll report on a toll that doesn't exist? I just gave you the report, no charge, people. So stop paying millions of dollars on that nonsense. Because is the real goal to convert that toll bridge into mileage? Again, I said it, managed lane, toll lane. Yes, it's on there. Oh, Coronado Toll Bridge, convert it back to toll lanes. Coronado, speak up. Because this whole report it's ridiculous. And you look at 125, if you don't mind flipping it over, Javier. Flip it over. Turn it over. Look at that. 78% of our toll, Carolina, is coming from, you got it upside down. Come back over here. All right, now we got it straight. 78% of our tolls is coming from the South Bay community. That's not a laughing matter, Carolina. That is not a laughing matter when we're paying for it on a road that is already paid for. Because the real goal is your climate nonsense. Million trucks across the border, as Mayor Santee pointed out, that it's all a wash. You're just lying and actually taxing people out of the car to take the bus. But you're not going to make the cargo take the bus. See the hypocrisy of that? And you're not going to do electric car, the rep over there, because they already said the EV mandate's no longer in effect. And oh, by the way, Mexico does not have smog stations. So how's the climate footprint of all the million trucks going across the border?
Thank you, Alan. Your time has expired. Next is Paula Bold online, followed by Blair Beekman.
Paul Bold. The first items of note in the Davis-Farr report are pretty bad. They identified 3 large errors in the accounting records that required correcting. The deferred refunding loss related to the 2023 bond issuance for $6,400,000. The construction in progress in South Bay Expressway Fund for $738,000, and capital assets removed an error in the Argus Fund in the amount of $10.1 or so million. Not good. The audit also found that a few required accounting reports were missing. So the SR 125 is not the only serious accounting loss. However, the audit did report 41 million of possibly misreported total revenue. So it sounds like this may be a continuing problem. Sounds like the revenue assumptions you made in the budget you just approved were wrong. The good news is that the audit did not find any questioned costs. You and we do that just fine, I guess. So the upshot seems to be more reports need to be sent out with more stress to SANDAG and fewer workers. Maybe if you listened to us more, there'd be less problems. And it's beginning to sound like you need an extra auditor or two to do continual audits for technology failing, money getting wasted on projects which keep needing repair, excess fees.
Thank you, Paul. Your time has expired. Next is Blair Beekman, followed by Consuelo.
Hi, Blair Beekman. Thanks for this item. You've covered a lot of topics of auditing in this report. Thank you. I think SANDAG is trying to make a real commitment towards auditing and accountability, reorganization. Thank you. Thank you for those efforts. And to add to what Paul was saying, I think it's really important how you can listen to community advice and input. And I think you can't can do that well. Just as a reminder how important it is, what it offers, the process. It really creates an extra dimension of your work that I hope can be respected. Good luck how we can continue those good efforts. I wanted to note from my previous public comment, once again, Santa Clara County a few years ago, within their jail systems, they could not openly talk about their technology, and now they can. So it's not impossible to create avenues to talk about our tech, no matter what level of government. Good luck in our efforts, how we can work together to do that. That's why I'm here. So good luck how it just becomes a better process over time, easier process. With that said, with 50 seconds, I wanted to once again mention, with auditing issues, the importance of accountability, and the accountability with, say, the Lausanne corridor and the double tracking issue. That we, as SANDAG persons, you guys do not know how to talk about choices. You have a very set direction you want to work, but there's an environmental part of this process that you guys do not want to make clear, and it's very, very hurtful. You're going to experiment with double tracking at the beginning and the end of the track, or at the bridge portion. I prefer the end of the track, but you're doing that experiment to see if that's all we need in double tracking. We need to be clear and open about that, because it really may be all we need.
Thank you, Blair. Your time has expired. Next is Consuelo, followed by our last public comment of Marco Espinosa. Go ahead, Consuelo.
Yep, I'm unmuted. Okay, here we go. So amen to all the concerned public tax-paying speakers, the true shareholders. It's called being groomed and programmed. That's what's happening. Okay, here, let's start again, sorry. It's called being groomed and programmed and brainwashed. These agencies are staffed and run by this specific demographic. It's such a backward system. A toll study on a non-toll bridge, again, wasteful. Alan just gave you the report for free. Lies, lies, lies. Account reports missing, misreported toll revenues. SANDAG is not concerned with safety, sustainability, carbon footprint. It is committed to maintaining the lives, covering their behinds, and last but not least, fulfilling the agenda for the United Nations. Wake up, wake up, wake up. That's all I got.
Thank you. Your last public comment is Marco Espinosa.
Hello, good morning, Marco Espinosa. I just want to say great work to the staff on the audit report. Audit reports are quite difficult. That's all. Thank you. I yield back.
That concludes our public comment, Chair.
Thank you so much. And this is an information item only, but we'll take our board comments now. Mayor Ehlers.
Yeah, first thing is I really appreciate that we're on a path now to eliminate the qualified opinions for next year, and I was glad to hear that. I also have a great appreciation for the fact that both of you are new, relatively new, 1 to 2 years, and I think that is a very important thing to note that the board ought to take note of, that you have fresh eyes, you're looking at it a very thorough, classic auditor approach, so I appreciate that too. The installation of a new ERP, and I presume this is Tyler Technologies that we're using, we're very standard.
Correct.
Okay, great. And that should help bring some improvement to controls and standardization too. I know you noted that one module was installed later than the go live. Do we have any other modules that are coming new in this year or next year before the next audit?
We do. It's a long process, and we've kind of broken everything up.
If you could pull the microphone closer, with our wonderful sound system here.
Yes, so we do have future phases that are coming online soon. Our next big one to go live will be payroll, which will be for our last pay period in June and our first check in July. So right around the corner. And then there's smaller components that are being brought online as we go. So there's also like benefit enrollments will come on in the fall when we're doing benefits. And then we have a vendor self-service, a employee reimbursement, and a P card. They're not really separate modules, but components that we are still working on implementing.
Okay, cool. Do you anticipate any of those delaying the trial balance like happened this year?
I think what I would anticipate is that it is still a new system and we still have a lot of people learning how to use it. So yes, it brings efficiencies and controls, but you also have this learning curve. And so I think that is still a factor as we get into our next year end. So we've got our interim audit scheduled for July and we're working on a plan for what that timeline will look like.
And do we expect, it seemed like a 5-month delay, and I think we said it was due to the ERP implementation. Will the trial balance be on a much quicker, more timely delivery this next year, do you expect?
We had about a 2-month delay. We were originally anticipating late October, early November, and got it to them by January. It always does take quite a few months to close out your fiscal year and then go through the audit. So I would anticipate that we can be ahead of that timeline as we're going into this next cycle.
And then continually improve over the years. Okay, great. Let's check my other notes here. That's really it. I will make a motion if the.
Just information.
Oh, it's just information and I don't need to. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Chavez. No, you're good? Okay.
Gonna talk.
Okay.
So I want to thank staff for this comprehensive report and the commitment to transparency that we have with our community, the community that we represent. That said, the broken back office, I have to say it, the system for the SR 125, the toll road continues to undermine credibility of this agency. I think that when we mention, our CEO mentioned earlier that informed us that this morning, the implementation of the new system is facing delays on the vendor side, pushing this costly transition even further out and prolonging the technical issues we've been working to resolve. It's just my thought that the longer we delay, the more we allow this inequitable system to harm both our families who use this toll, as well as our community and the credibility of this agency. This report only reinforces that we've known for years that we were promised a freeway instead of the expansion of the 5 or the 805. We have paid this unfair toll for 13 years, and it's time to end the tax toll in Chula Vista and the South Bay. And I know I sound like a broken record, but when we're talking about all these projects that are coming to the region, South Bay is going to carry most of the load in the traffic and the congestion. And then we have a university coming, and then we have big national projects like the Bayfront, the Gaylord coming. So tourism is going to increment. So we need to be mindful when moving forward that we need to remove the toll in the 125. Thank you.
Thank you. Not to put you on the spot, Councilmember Fisher, but as the chair of the audit committee, I know you guys heard this yesterday. Are there any comments you'd like to make about that interaction?
Yeah. Thanks, Chair. As the audit committee, we listened to the same presentation you saw and had some similar comments with the 125. But, the feeling was that staff has continued to performing above average to work through and to run a year trying to implement a back office system, keep the agency going forward, new leadership, new board leadership. I think that there's a lot of factors that have been figured in, but it's my opinion that staff is doing an amazing job with what's been given. And again, I'm not saying that that's any excuse for some of the misgivings in the report, but again, we're looking to the past and it's going to help guide us forward. That's really the key. And that's what I'm hearing from the auditor, saying that some of the opinions on there might be removed in the next. And I feel that Ms. Trammell really is hopeful that things go forward. Obviously, auditors, they always want 100%. That's always their goal, and very few places always want that 100%. So as from the audit committee, we are happy with the report. We are thankful for staff and for all that's going on, and look forward to the future, providing a little bit more streamlined processes to help the audit get back on track for the timing. Because I think that was the thing. I don't think there was any misintent. Nobody was in the background doing any malicious things they just needed a little bit extra time because of the ERP and some other issues that come forward in the audit year. So thanks again.
Thank you. And Councilmember Downey from Coronado.
A couple of things. I just want, most of the board knows that the attachment 3, the Coronado Toll Bridge report, is what is maintained from money that was collected in the last year the toll remained on the bridge, and it's supposed to be used only for traffic mitigation going into Coronado. Since that time, the traffic has only gotten many, many times worse, and the Navy has EIS in the works because they're going to be having a third carrier home ported half the year. So hopefully we'll find some projects that will help us deal with that, but that's what that is for. And I have to put it on the record because I will hear about it if I don't. There is no mechanism. Nobody is asking to put the tolls back on. The report is talking about a managed lane. I had asked this board years ago to try and figure out how we could do a carpool lane on the bridge. And I was told that we couldn't at the time, but now we can because we found a way to get it to be thorough all the way through the 5. So it's not a toll road. Those are toll / managed. In this case, it's managed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember. All right. Thank you so much for the report. We're making advances. That's what we want to see. And I think that's the bottom line for this agency. Little by little, we're improving and seeing advances in every area. So with that, I will conclude our meeting. The next Board of Directors meeting is next Friday, the 30th. Have a good, at 9 a.m. Yes. Have a good holiday weekend.